On the day I died of illness at 70, Xiaoyanting finally came home after our long Cold War. Sadly, he missed my final words. My spirit hovered midair as I watched him interrogate our children. Did I leave any last wishes for him? Our daughter answered through tearful laughter. Mom left absolutely nothing for you. Seeing Xiaoyanting's face turn deathly pale in an instant, I burst into hysterical laughter until tears streamed down uncontrollably. After 50 years of marriage, the man remained as cold as ice toward me. I knew the woman he truly wanted to marry wasn't me. In his heart, I wasn't even worthy of being a substitute. At this thought, I angrily raised my foot and aimed a kick at Xiaoyanting's wrinkled face. A blinding white light flashed, and to my astonishment, I found myself reborn into the sweltering summer of senior year. My first act in this new life was defying my parents' wishes to apply for Capital Art Academy. As long as I don't end up at the same university as Xiaoyanting, our paths shall never cross again in this lifetime. Yet for all my calculations, I never anticipated Xiaoyanting would transfer directly into my class. On the third day of avoiding him, the coldly handsome youth cornered me under a tree outside campus, his thin lips quirking as he demanded with shadowed eyes, "Not even greeting your future husband when you see him, Jianli? I never knew you were this bold." The doctors said my cancer treatment was successful. It should have bought me 2 more years. It's all Xiaoyanting's fault. Couldn't wait to throw his first love an extravagant wedding. Past 50, he spent millions reuniting their college classmates just to fulfill Meng Yan's youthful fantasy. Uninvited, I still shamelessly crashed this ridiculous farce of a wedding. I lurked in the unnoticed shadows, watching helplessly as they exchanged rings, gazed lovingly into each other's eyes, and whispered their vows. I knew Xiaoyanting had seen me, yet he did nothing. Preoccupied with pushing Meng Yan's wheelchair and accepting the tearful blessings from the guests, I came without a sound, and left without a trace. Before long, I was terminally ill beyond any hope of recovery. On my deathbed, our daughter tearfully called her father, begging him to come home, even if just for 5 minutes with me. Yet Xiaoyanting dismissed it as another act. Since I'd often faked our child's illness to force his immediate return, to him, I was nothing but a shameless liar. In my final days of suffering, Meng Yan was the only one who came to visit me. Xiaoyanting hired a renowned specialist to treat her leg. The surgery went perfectly, and soon she'd be able to walk again. What does it matter that you bore his children? After all these years, I'm still the only one he's ever truly loved. His first love, watching my pitiful, half-dead state. Meng Yan smiled as she raised her hand, deliberately flashing her wedding diamond at me. A tickle rose in my chest, but I suppressed the urge to cough and said with a breezy laugh, "If a man truly loved you, he wouldn't make you wait 50 years for him." I was speaking the truth, but unfortunately Meng Yan couldn't bear to hear it. The day after she left, Xiaoyanting had his lawyer send me divorce papers. I flipped straight to the last page of the agreement, signed it, then neatly arranged the documents in the study, imagining how delighted Xiaoyanting would be when he saw these papers. A metallic taste flooded my throat, and I quickly pressed a tissue to my mouth. Just as I'd feared, a splatter of blood stained the tissue. In my final moments, my entire life flashed before my eyes like a spinning lantern. All I could see was Xiaoyanting. After breaking up with Meng Yan and drowning his sorrows at the bar, he took my hand and checked us into a hotel. The next day, he announced to everyone that I was his fiancée. At our engagement party, when he learned I was pregnant, he spun me around in joyful circles. Enough. I woke up drenched in cold sweat, my eyes wide with terror. The noise was so loud that it startled my parents in the next room, who came rushing in to check on me. "It's nothing, just a bad dream." With tears welling in my eyes, I clung to my mother desperately, refusing to let go. I was reborn, since fate has granted me a second chance. I won't repeat the mistakes of my past life. The next day, I secretly applied to the Capital Arts Academy without telling my parents. In my previous life, to be the perfect obedient daughter, I let my parents dictate every major decision, from education to marriage. This time around, I'm determined to live authentically for myself. When my father found out I'd secretly applied to art school, he flew into a rage and gave me a severe scolding. But parents' love ultimately prevails. Despite their complaints, they soon came to accept my willfulness. One afternoon, while I was practicing vocal techniques and posture with single-minded devotion, my mother texted me to visit the downtown luxury hotel after class. Only upon entering the private dining room did I realize this was an ambush meeting. After all these years apart, I never imagined Lily would blossom into such a beautiful young woman. I didn't need mother's introduction to recognize the elegant lady before me, nor the strikingly handsome young man by her side. "Hello, Auntie, I greeted Madame Xiao with unwavering composure, pretending not to notice Yan Ting's unblinking gaze fixed upon me. Even in my peripheral vision, the young man's striking handsomeness was almost too dazzling to look at directly. I used to love flipping through Xiao Yanting's high school yearbook, clinging to his arm and cooing. Your graduation photo is so handsome, I wish I'd met you sooner. Now 18-year-old Xiao Yanting sits across from me, but I can't be bothered to glance his way, focused instead on picking at my food with deliberate indifference. Xiao Yanting and I were supposed to meet during our sophomore year through our parents' arrangement. Something must have gone wrong in fate's design. This lifetime brought us together far too soon. Just as I was feeling unsettled, the usually aloof Xiao Yanting unexpectedly sat beside me and said calmly, "Let's exchange contacts." Jiangli. I stayed quiet for a long while, but eventually caved under my mother's increasingly pointed glances. After obediently exchanging numbers with Xiao Yanting, he never initiated any further conversation with me. It was painfully obvious Xiao Yanting had zero interest in me. When the dinner ended, I sat in the car listening to my mother's earnest advice about socializing with young men while casually blocking and deleting the newly saved number. I truly believed this would be the end of any connection between Xiao Yanting and me, yet within days, the young man transferred into my senior year class. Of all the rotten luck, the only empty seat happened to be next to mine. Jiangli, long time no see, Xiao Yanting greeted me first. But I merely gave a faint smile before focusing on the lecture. When the bell rang, I walked straight out of the classroom without even packing my books. Within less than a week, the whole class noticed my cold indifference toward Xiao Yanting. Since I was known for being exceptionally friendly in class, some classmates gradually began isolating Xiao Yanting under my unspoken influence. Xiao Yanting felt absolutely nothing about it. He was naturally aloof, preferring solitude and quiet. That Friday after lunch break, I returned to the classroom only to find Xiao Yanting's seat empty. During class, I faintly heard whispers from the back row. That guy still hasn't shown up. Could he really be locked in the storage room? Whatever, even if he is, it's his own fault for staying quiet like a mute. With a loud thud, I slammed my textbook on the desk and abruptly stood up. Under everyone's curious gazes, I walked out of the classroom with a blank expression. 10 minutes later, I unlocked the shabby storage room door with a borrowed key. Xiao Yanting seemed to have anticipated my arrival. He propped himself up from the dusty cushion, giving me a knowing half-smile. Jiangli, you never could resist meddling in others' affairs. Seeing his indifferent attitude, I knew my kindness had been thrown to the dogs, but I didn't regret it one bit. I'd have helped regardless of whether it was Xiao Yanting or someone else locked here today. As I turned to leave, Xiao Yanting's playful glint vanished. He seized my wrist and shoved me toward the threshold. He asked coldly why I'd deleted his number. I glared at him with a frown. None of your business, Xiao Yanting. Give my phone back. Before I could react, the guy had already re-entered his number and shamelessly set it as my top contact. Jiangli, our parents hoped that you and I could become friends. Anyone who knew Xiao Yanting could tell he was making an uncharacteristically proactive overture of friendship at this moment. Unfortunately, having been reborn, I had absolutely no intention of having any connection with him. I wouldn't even deign to be casual acquaintances with him. I watched coldly as I flung the phone he'd touched to the ground, then stomped the screen into shattered fragments under my heel. Xiao Yanting's handsome face visibly darkened with an unreadable expression. His lips parted as if to speak, but I'd already turned away without a backward glance. That afternoon after school, I spotted a familiar figure waiting at the school gates. Before I could react, the slender feminine figure had already thrown herself into Xiao Yanting's arms. Yanting, oh my god, what happened to your hand? Had Meng Yan not sounded so hysterical, I wouldn't have noticed Xiao Yanting was still clutching my shattered phone in his hand, shards of glass embedded in his flesh. Yet the young man showed no sign of pain, only casting me an inscrutable glance before getting into the car. Following the young man's gaze, Meng Yan and I locked eyes. She gave me a disdainful smirk. In that single glance, I knew with absolute certainty, she had been reborn too. At this realization, I felt an immense wave of relief wash over me. In their past life, Xiao Yanting and Meng Yan were high school sweethearts, a perfect match who admired each other's talents and eventually got into the same university together. Had Zhao's parents not forcibly separated the lovebirds and stubbornly disapproved of Meng Yan, they would have become that picture-perfect couple everyone envies. Respect, blessings, may they be eternally inseparable. Just when I thought Meng Yan's reappearance would keep Xiao Yanting too absorbed in his first love to notice an extra like me, the young man showed up uninvited at my birthday party. Inside the KTV private room, Xiaoyanting handed me an exquisite gift box in my favorite shade of indigo. He stared unblinking as I accepted the present with a forced smile before casually tossing it onto the pile of other gifts. The usually aloof young man finally dropped his composed facade. Asking through gritted teeth, "Jiangli, just tell me now, what exactly have I done to offend you?" I frowned at him and was about to speak when an utterly distressed female sob caught my attention. "Yan Ting, please, sob, take me away from here." Meng Yan appeared before the crowd, drenched from head to toe with disheveled hair and clothes in disarray. As she spoke between sobs, she kept stealing terrified glances at me, trembling as if I might devour her any second. This scene felt so familiar that I nearly burst out laughing. In my past life, the main reason Xiaoyanting completely cut ties with me and refused to return home even during my fatal illness, was Meng Yan's false accusation that I pushed her off the second-floor balcony, leaving her legs severely injured. Back then, Meng Yan wore the same pitiful expression, playing the innocent victim who just wanted to escape the drama. No matter how many times I explained, I could never reclaim Xiaoyanting's heart. It was never mine to begin with. Leaning back against the leather sofa with effortless grace, I crossed my arms and preempted Xiaoyanting with a honeyed smile, willingly claiming responsibility for this mess. "Just a harmless prank my girls played on your little sweetheart, Yanting. Surely you wouldn't ruin my birthday over something so trivial." Meng Yan's eyes flickered with shock at my words, then immediately lit up with unconcealed triumph. She had to bow her head, pretending to wipe away non-existent tears. She'd never have dreamed I'd play along with her act so perfectly. Even in this second life, I remain her defeated rival. As Meng Yan and I harbored our own thoughts, bracing for Xiaoyanting's towering rage, the long silent young man did something no one present could have anticipated. "Jiangli, I'll never be angry with you again." Xiaoyanting dropped to one knee before me with unself-conscious grace, reaching out. He plucked the indigo gift box from the pile, cradled it in his palm, then opened it himself as he said to me, "I designed this myself. What do you think? Do you like it?" The dim neon glow of the KTV illuminated the butterfly brooch crafted from natural diamonds. The sudden burst of dazzling brilliance left the entire private room so silent you could hear a pin drop. My fists clenched instinctively. I can tell this butterfly brooch was inspired by the magnificent blue morpho in my past life. I begged Xiaoyanting countless times to accompany me to South America, to witness the breathtaking migration of blue morpho butterflies with my own eyes, yet until my dying breath, this perfectly achievable wish remained forever unfulfilled. Turns out when you're utterly speechless, laughter really does become the only possible response. Rubbing my throbbing temples, I said to Xiaoyanting with feigned nonchalance, "What an eyesore of a gift. So hideous it makes me sick." There was no doubt about it, Xiaoyanting had been reborn, even with memories of his past life intact. The audacity of him to provoke me again. "Meng Yan, that murderous look on your face says it all. You're absolutely obsessed with this tacky brooch. Here, it's yours now." Without a shred of remorse, I flung Xiaoyanting's meticulously chosen luxury trinket, box and all, at Meng Yan's feet like worthless trash. Watching their faces simultaneously darken with rage, I curled my lips in a smirk, yet still felt unsatisfied, so I followed my instincts, striding straight up to Meng Yan and delivering a resounding slap across her face with every ounce of my strength. That slap was long overdue. I should have given it to her in our past life. After stunning Meng Yan with the blow, I marched straight toward Xiaoyanting. "Jiangli, you, crack." The sharp sound cut through the young man's icy words mid-sentence. Xiaoyanting's head snapped sideways from the unexpected strike, his lips splitting from the impact. After a moment of silence, he raised his hand. Just as I instinctively narrowed my eyes and braced to dodge, he simply wiped away the bloodstain with his thumb, as if it meant nothing. The young man's pitch-black eyes gleamed as he spoke to me with a mocking half-smile. "Darling, next time you hit me, don't use your bare hands. I'd hate to see them swollen." "Darling." The classmates exchanged bewildered glances, their faces lit up with the scandalized expressions of people who just heard jaw-dropping gossip. As for Meng Yan, she clutched her stinging cheek, her eyes darting between me and Xiaoyanting, disbelief written all over her face. "Yanting, have you forgotten I'm your true love? For 50 years you've kept the maple leaf I gave you. I was your first love. How could you side with this vicious woman to torment me?" Sobs. Her long-maintained facade finally crumbled. This time, Meng Yan's racking sobs came from genuine heartache that left her physically breathless, no matter how hard she tried to understand. In their past life she'd clearly died after me, after I'd even signed the divorce papers her bribed lawyers drafted. Yet Xiaoyanting still made her wait in vain until death, never truly marrying her. this lifetime, she finally seized the initiative, shedding all pretense of modesty to openly court that composed, devastatingly handsome man. So why, in the end, did Xiao Yanting still refuse to choose her? It has to be you, Jiangli, you're behind this. Meng Yan charged at me in a fury, but before her fingers could graze my sleeve, Xiao Yanting's kick sent her sprawling to the ground in the blink of an eye. I frowned at Xiao Yanting. It wasn't that I pitied Meng Yan, I just couldn't fathom the source of that intense hatred burning in the young man's eyes. Xiao Yanting's tone when speaking to Meng Yan was colder than I'd ever heard. I'll say this once, Jiangli was my first and only love from start to finish. Those maple leaves you mentioned, I always believed they came from her. At those words, fragments of my past life, details I'd never paid attention to, suddenly came rushing back. During our second college date, I'd just returned from abroad. As I headed to my dorm to fetch maple-themed souvenirs for Xiao Yanting, he gently tucked my stray hair behind my ear, smiling, "No need, I've already received them." Impossible. Clutching her stomach in agony, Meng Yan crawled to Xiao Yanting's feet, her face ghostly pale. She gripped his pant leg and wailed, "If you didn't love me, why would you give me the perfect wedding I've always dreamed of in front of all our friends and classmates?" At the mention of this, the hatred in Xiao Yanting's eyes turned ice cold. The way he looked down at Meng Yan carried all the warmth of staring at a corpse. "Without that wedding, you'd never have dropped the lawsuit against Jiangli." The young man then turned to me, his eyes, far older than his years, swirling with a complex mix of regret and anguish. I froze for a long moment before finally letting out a light, relieved chuckle. Pointing at the private room's door, I said to Xiao Yanting and Meng Yan with deliberate indifference, "Both of you, get the hell out." What should have been a perfect birthday party fell apart not long after. Just as I got into the family driver's car and we were about to leave the parking lot, a reckless figure suddenly appeared and blocked the vehicle. "Jiangli, please give me 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes is all I need." Xiao Yanting absolutely refused to leave. To prevent the driver from actually calling the police and causing more trouble, I had no choice but to agree to meet him at a cafe in the nearby park. We sat facing each other in a corner. Xiao Yanting asked what I'd like to drink, offering to buy it for me. I just waved him off and told him to speak his mind. "Jiangli, I've missed you terribly, in 50 years of marriage." Xiao Yanting rarely spoke sweet nothings to me. Now that this tight-lipped guy suddenly found his tongue, I'm starting to wonder if he's possessed or something. Seeing my silence, Xiao Yanting lowered his gaze, hands resting properly on his knees, looking both nervous and deep in thought. Eventually, I couldn't stand the prolonged silence any longer and broke it by saying, "Since heaven has given us this second chance at life, then let's get married as soon as we're of age." "Jiangli, what?" "I've made up my mind. In this lifetime, the sooner you have our child, the faster and better your body will recover. I'll take you for annual checkups from now on, and this time, I swear you'll never suffer from illness again." In my past life, my health began deteriorating after the traumatic hemorrhage during our daughter's difficult birth. After that, I became a walking pharmacy, even though Xiao Yanting hired countless top specialists for my treatment and recovery. The results were never satisfactory. Gazing into Xiao Yanting's earnest, intense eyes, a playful impulse suddenly stirred within me. "Oh, care to tell me how many children you're planning to have in this lifetime?" Perhaps because my tone had lost its previous aloofness, Xiao Yanting's face immediately softened into a warm, genuine smile. "Whatever my wife decides." Hearing this, I couldn't help but let out a scornful laugh. "I'm not your wife, if you keep talking to me with this unreasonable, shameless attitude, then I think we truly have nothing left to discuss." "Sorry, Jiangli, I just..." Xiao Yanting carefully rehearsed his words in his mind, terrified that what he was about to say might offend me. "Like I said at your birthday party just now, you've always been my first love, in our past lives and now, I don't want to see you fall ill again, which is why I hope we can get married soon." Taking a sip of the complimentary lemon water on the table, I met his gaze with relaxed understanding and countered, "Xiao Yanting, have you ever considered that I might choose not to have children?" The Xiao family wielded immense influence, dominating both business and political circles. My parents pushed me into this marriage with Xiao Yanting precisely because they wanted me to live in luxury and comfort for the rest of my life. In a family like this, having children isn't optional for a daughter-in-law. Both Xiao Yanting and I understood this perfectly, which was why I caught that instinctive flicker of displeasure in his eyes when I mentioned not wanting children, but he masked it masterfully. After a brief pause, he'd already formulated the perfect compromise. "It's okay, if you don't want children, we won't have any. We can always try IVF abroad." He gave in too quickly, so quickly that for the first time in years, I was fooled into believing he loved me unconditionally. My nails dug into my palms, the sharp pain a necessary reminder. In this life, I've long resolved to live only for myself. Let's not even mention how IVF exploits another innocent woman. Xiaoyanting, you probably don't know I've been specially admitted to the Capital Arts Academy. I checked my watch, exactly 10 minutes had passed. Standing up with an impassive face, I continued, from now on, I'll be increasingly busy and can no longer play the role of your stay-at-home, self-sacrificing perfect wife. If you need recommendations, frankly I think Meng Yan would suit you perfectly. Before leaving, I pointed mockingly at the disheveled female figure outside the cafe who kept staring at us desperately. At the sight of Meng Yan, Xiaoyanting's immediate reaction was to grab my wrist, his handsome face darkening as he said, Jiangli, why won't you believe there's nothing between us? After all these years bearing my children, can't you find even an ounce of trust for me? Trust? How dare he speak to me about trust? I finally snapped and shook off the young man's hand, my voice icy with contempt. When I was hemorrhaging during childbirth and you couldn't return from your business trip with Meng Yan, when I finally clawed my way back from death's door and called you, it was Meng Yan who answered. She said you were showering and couldn't be bothered. Xiaoyanting, answer me this: if I didn't trust you, why didn't I just have you fire Meng Yan right then? And on our 40th wedding anniversary, you bought 2 identical necklaces, one for me, one for Meng Yan. If I didn't trust you, I would have stormed into your office and drenched you 2 adulterers in pig's blood long ago. You think being a husband just means clocking out on time, occasionally hugging the kids, and asking about their grades. That's your idea of a good husband. Let me make this clear, someone like you was never worthy of my trust to begin with. If it weren't for the children, I'd never have muddled through this marriage with you. Now I've got my own path to walk. If you have any decency left after all these years I've endured, keep yourself and your little mistress in check. Don't you dare disturb me again. A lifetime of grievances came pouring out, eyes burning with unshed tears. I bolted through the door. Xiaoyanting scrambled after me in belated panic, only to be clutched back like a vengeful spirit by Meng Yan. Through the car window, I watched helplessly as the young and innocent Meng Yan was violently thrown to the ground by the man she'd loved her entire life. Even with blood streaming down her temple, she still begged pitifully for his mercy. A woman reduced to Meng Yan's state truly leaves one speechless. 1 week after my birthday, our school held its final pre-exam variety show for senior students to unwind before the Gaokao. As the only arts major in my class, I rehearsed a duet dance performance with a male student from the neighboring class. Just 1 minute before I was about to take the stage, Xiaoyanting, who had been missing for a whole week, appeared before me. His jawline had grown sharper, his face gaunt, yet his eyes shone with remarkable clarity and vitality. Knowing him as I did, I suspected he'd seized this second chance at life to make strategic moves and investments that would further fatten the Xia family coffers. By all accounts, there was nothing wrong with that. It simply drove home the irreconcilable differences between our paths. Xiaoyanting remained fixated on insatiable profits, living by the mottos silence is golden and beneath contempt to argue. As for me, I was about to embrace a wildly different life, one of unbridled freedom. Studying the shimmering ball gown I wore, Xiaoyanting abruptly pulled me closer by the waist and rasped, "How come I never knew you could dance?" I pursed my lips in noncommittal silence. There are countless things about me he knows nothing of. Early in our relationship, I tried sharing my interests with him, hoping to find common ground, but he was either too busy or simply indifferent. Over time, conversations between us dwindled to nothing beyond discussions about our child. Let me go. It's my turn now. As I struggled to break free, my dance partner came over. Sensing the tension between me and Xiaoyanting, the tall guy furrowed his handsome brows and pulled me behind him before asking pointedly, "Jiangli, you okay? Need any help?" Before I could speak, Xiaoyanting curled his lips in a sneer and retorted shamelessly, "What's it to you if I whisper to my girlfriend? Get lost, Chunxing. This guy's nuts. Let's just go." To my surprise, Xiaoyanting didn't follow as I left with my male dance partner, his gaze icy. As my dance performance concluded amidst thunderous applause, the strikingly handsome Xiaoyanting strode purposefully toward me with 99 roses in hand, his piercing gaze never wavering as he crossed the stage unchallenged. Before the entire school's faculty and students, he spoke with heartfelt sincerity, "Jiangli, don't wait for tomorrow or someday in the future. Come with me now. I'll take you to witness the butterfly migration you've always dreamed of seeing." From the audience, I spotted both our parents watching. The way they joined the audience's teasing laughter made it clear, Xiaoyanting had bypassed me entirely and convinced them to accept this arranged marriage. Had this been my past self, I'd have thrown myself into that young man's arms in ecstasy by now. Pity, I've changed. The truth is, I don't love him anymore. Meeting Xiaoyanting's expectant gaze, I offered a composed smile and responded with quiet dignity, if I want flowers, I'll buy them myself. If I wish to see butterfly migrations, I'm perfectly capable of going alone. Xiaoyanting, you really needn't exhaust yourself trying to please me. As I've said, from now on, I'll be quite occupied. The unspoken subtext. I've no time to entertain your 4 decades too late epiphany of affection. As my dance partner and I retreated backstage, just as I meant to apologize for dragging him into that public spectacle, Xiaoyanting came barreling after us with obsessive persistence, his eyes darkening as he jabbed a finger at my partner and demanded, "Don't tell me you're rejecting me because of him." The male dancer's sarcastic retort, "So what if I am?" instantly earned him the young man's irrational fist. Xiaoyanting, are you out of your mind? With visible concern, I helped the male dancer up from the floor and confirmed he wasn't seriously hurt. Seething with rage, I snatched up the fallen bouquet from the floor and hurled it straight into Xiaoyanting's face, making sure every teacher and classmate watching from backstage saw my fury. The rose thorns found their mark. His left temple bore a vivid crimson gash where he'd failed to dodge. Xiaoyanting stood motionless, seemingly impervious to pain. His expression remained blank, but his bloodshot eyes burned into mine. He couldn't comprehend how 4 decades of marital love and devotion could be discarded so effortlessly, how I could walk away without looking back. Was all my past love and support for him nothing but a lie? How else could I have hurt him so deeply over some irrelevant man? Meeting Xiaoyanting's utterly devastated gaze, I icily retorted, "Consider this your only warning. If you dare harass me or my friends again, I'll file charges immediately." With that, I couldn't even bear to glance at him again, supporting my dance partner who'd suffered unjustly on my behalf as we left together. That night, a violent storm raged outside. Flash after flash of lightning illuminated the young man kneeling at our gate, his stubbornly handsome face pale as parchment. Inside, my parents took turns persuading me, whatever grievances existed between me and Xiaoyanting, he remained the Xiao family's most valued eldest son. I'd already humiliated him by publicly rejecting his confession. Now if we let him kneel recklessly at our doorstep, when gossip spreads with exaggerations, it'll tarnish both my reputation and the dignity of our families. Be a good girl, Ailey, listen to your father, whether you like Xiaoyanting or not, go persuade him to leave first. Mother pleaded with me while massaging her temples, but I ignored her, casually asking the maid for another bowl of bird's nest dessert soup. The soup arrived promptly, but father snatched me from my seat before I could taste it, his face dark with anger. He shoved me outside and tossed an umbrella at me before slamming the door. With little enthusiasm, I picked up the umbrella, opened it to check for holes, then ambled over to Xiaoyanting at a leisurely pace. The young man's eyes were bloodshot from the relentless assault of icy raindrops, yet I made no move to tilt the umbrella's edge toward him, offering no shelter from the storm. "Xiaoyanting, it's time you went home. Can a place truly be called home without you there?" Xiaoyanting was groomed for elite education since childhood, dedicating most of his life to expanding and safeguarding the family empire. I knew his relationship with his parents lacked the warmth and affection we shared in my family. With a quiet sigh in my heart, I asked him wearily, "What else must I do to make you understand? You and I are no longer family." Xiaoyanting's lips trembled as he stared rigidly up at me. "Have you forgotten we raised 2 children together? Forgotten how much they depend on you? The 4 of us are the real family. You could never sleep the night before our annual family portrait. You'd be so excited. Jiangli, every fault is mine. I failed you as a husband. I'm begging you, for our children's sake, give me this one last chance to make things right. Please, Jiangli." Those are the children we've poured our hearts and souls into raising all these years. They've always been the apples of your eye, your most cherished treasures. Xiaoyanting clutched at the hem of my skirt, his voice trembling with an unfamiliar, pleading desperation as he continued, "You don't understand. I can't bear losing you again. After your death, I prayed to every god and burned incense daily, begging them to bring you into my dreams just once, even for a fleeting moment, but you. Jiangli, how cruel you are. You left me without a single parting word, and now you won't even visit me in my dreams. Why, just why would you do this to me? Why, is it really that hard to understand?" I lowered my gaze, gripped his wrist with visible disgust, and coldly shoved it away. "Because you're not worthy." Xiaoyanting, a blinding lightning flash suddenly illuminated the man's ashen, bloodless face frozen in shock. My words alone struck him dumb with disbelief. Never in his wildest dreams would he imagine that I, who cherished our daughter above all, would rather deny her existence than leave him even a shred of affection. Jiangli, you've lost your mind. Hearing this, I let out a mirthless laugh. The crazy one here is you, Xiaoyanting. You must have seen the divorce papers I left in the study in our past life. Deep down, you've always known our relationship was doomed. Now that we've both been reborn, let's go our separate ways. From this day forward, we should never meet again. I turned to leave, but Xiaoyanting suddenly stood up and desperately wrapped his arms around me from behind. One quiet night 3 months after my death in the previous life, exhausted and overwhelmed, Xiaoyanting was driven home by his chauffeur. Feeling ravenous, he got up and, uncharacteristically, opened the freezer compartment himself. There, he was lucky enough to spot half a bag of frozen dumplings still left. I made those. The filling was unmistakably his favorite, shepherd's purse with beef. The man, now past 50, fell silent for a moment. He took out the dumplings and started looking for a pot to boil them, only to find his vision inexplicably blurred. He wept. A crushing wave of grief, sudden and overwhelming, brought him to his knees. Xiaoyanting fell ill. This final sickness claimed his life. At this memory, the young man's tears mingled with the rain, streaming uncontrollably down his face. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. In this lifetime, I want nothing but you, Jiangli. I beg you. I can't lose you again. Enough. Unhand my daughter. My father intervened, prying the overly audacious youth off me. He warned him that if he didn't leave immediately, he'd call security to have him thrown out. Yet Xiaoyanting remained obstinately at the villa's entrance, silently gazing at the light from my second-floor window, unable to bear my mother's anxious expression. I calmly recounted my past life with Xiaoyanting like a story, indifferent to whether she believed me or not. When the tale ended, my usually gentle mother grabbed a broom from the yard, summoned my father and security, and beat Xiaoyanting black and blue. My daughter will never be with a disgusting beast like you. Get the hell out of here. If I ever see you near my daughter again, I swear I'll beat you to death. That night, had my father not restrained her the entire time, I've no doubt my mother would have actually killed Xiaoyanting. 2 months later, the National College entrance exams arrived as scheduled. Though my scores weren't exceptionally high, I narrowly made the cutoff for Capital Art Academy's minimum admission requirements. On the very day I was packing for college orientation, my father broke the news about Xiaoyanting and Meng Yan's serious car accident. Rumor had it Xiaoyanting skipped this year's exams. After being scolded by my mother during that heavy rain, he locked himself in his room day after day, refusing to see anyone. Eventually, the Xiao family had no choice but to break down his door, only to be shocked at finding him emaciated to the point of near starvation. My father sighed and shook his head. Seeing I remained silent, he continued that Xiao boy had just been discharged from the hospital when this woman stopped him, wailing and making a scene. Then somehow, he ended up dragging her straight into traffic. Now he's lying in the ICU, probably. Good riddance. With an exasperated sigh, Mom tossed my clothes into the suitcase with unnecessary force. She warned Dad not to mention anything about Xiaoyanting ever again. Like a kitten seeking comfort, I burrowed into Mom's arms and refused to let go. On the first day of school, my parents walked me to the campus gate, dragging my suitcase. I chuckled and shooed them home. After all, our house was just 2 hours away, and I could visit every weekend. Such a dramatic farewell. Anyone would think we won't see each other for months. Watching my parents' car drive away, I turned toward the university gates I'd dreamed of for years, my heart pounding with excitement. No one can predict what the future holds, but I know this: by staying true to my heart and taking steady steps toward the life I envision, I'll find genuine happiness. E&D. Story 2. Before the implementation of the divorce cooling-off period, my husband suggested we fake a divorce so that he could transfer the ownership of our old house to me and purchase a new house in a good school district under his name. I readily nodded in agreement and quickly drafted the divorce agreement. With a smile, he said, "Wife, you're so good to me. I promise we'll remarry as soon as the property deed is issued." I looked up at him with deep affection. "Husband, swear to me, if you deceive me, may you not die a good death." His face stiffened for a moment but then returned to normal. "Wife, I swear, if Gu Yan betrays Lin Yang, may I not die a good death." I slowly smiled, knowing soon he would fulfill that oath, because I had been reborn. 1. When I opened my eyes, Gu Yan was holding my hand, intently showing me the floor plan of a house. My mother-in-law sat opposite us, nodding and smiling along. "Wife, look at this green court apartment. It's 120 square meters. Has good ventilation from north to south. And it's in the new district. There will be a metro line in the future, and it's perfect for Yuan who's about to start kindergarten. The school nearby has excellent teachers. I cast my gaze down at the man who was passionately discussing our options. Anger surged within me when he mentioned our daughter. He brought up our daughter. And I was reminded of how in my past life he tricked me with a fake divorce to buy a house. Secretly mortgaged our old house, took all of our marital assets, and even took our daughter's custody. All this just to be with his mistress, Ding Min, openly and legitimately. He didn't just want me to leave without a penny, but also wanted me to carry a huge debt, stepping on me for their bright future. What's more outrageous is that this Ding Min was an intern I had mentored, whom I had even pleaded with the boss to hire permanently, unexpectedly. She not only secured her position at the company but also in my husband's life. Thinking of my foolish past self, I almost wanted to slap myself. After Ding Min had a son, my daughter became an unwanted burden to everyone. Even so, when I wanted to regain custody, Ding Min sneered, "Lin Yuanyuan is doing well in our house, she only eats twice a day, I'll just pity her and let her serve my son in the future." The lawsuit went round after round as they tried to keep their pockets tight. One avoided me, while the other spread rumors about me and the boss at the company. Forced into a corner, I made frequent mistakes at work and was eventually suspended to reflect at home. It was only when the loan sharks came to seize the house that I discovered Gu Yan had secretly mortgaged our old house 3 times behind my back, cashing out 2 million. I lost not only my daughter and my job but also the house and ended up deep in debt. In a moment of darkness, I was pushed by the loan sharks and fell down the stairs, and died right there, too. I suppressed the rising nausea, knowing I couldn't reveal my true feelings yet. I wanted my daughter's custody and for him to lose everything, his reputation utterly ruined. I dug my fingernails into Gu Yan's palm, causing him pain enough to jerk his hand away. Gu Yan, nursing his reddened palm, looked at me somewhat aggrievedly. "Wife, what's wrong?" I suppressed the anger in my heart, tears welling up, and took his hands in mine. "It's not intentional, the house is great, but we don't have enough savings right now. A 70% down payment for a second property is required, and just thinking about our daughter makes my heart ache." After speaking, I covered my cheeks and began to sob softly. Our daughter Yuanyuan was still in my womb at that time. Gu Yan's mother insisted on coming to take care of me, claiming that hiring a nanny was a waste of money. She argued that she was agile and experienced, having raised 2 children herself. Gu Yan, being a filial son, naturally felt for his mother. After dismissing the nanny I had hired, everything seemed fine at first, with meals served regularly. Later, she took me to a private hospital for a 4D ultrasound, where the doctor happened to be her old friend. She informed her that I was expecting a girl. From then on, she subtly started suggesting that once I was out of confinement, we should start preparing for a second child. She was adamant about having a grandson, as failing to do so would mean losing face in her hometown. She even said that without a grandson, our family wouldn't be able to be buried in the ancestral cemetery. When I made it clear that I had no plans for a second child in the near future, her attitude changed completely. Whenever Gu Yan worked overtime, the only things on the dining table were cold dishes and plain steamed buns. I had no choice but to order takeout. What was worse, she would deliberately wait by the door to give my takeout to the stray dogs below. Struggling with poor nutrition and sleep, I gave birth to my daughter a month earlier than expected. The baby was already low on oxygen while in the womb, and although the doctor recommended a cesarean section, my mother-in-law obstinately refused to allow it. Eventually, my parents rushed over from Suzhou and signed the papers to proceed with the operation. Otherwise, it might have ended in tragedy. However, due to the delay, my daughter's health was compromised from birth. Gu Yan, aware of the underhanded things his mother had done, tried to appease me. He named our daughter Lin Yu. He also firmly insisted his mother move out and arranged for me to stay at the best postnatal care center. At that moment, I felt truly fortunate to have married Gu Yan, believing he was the partner I was meant to spend my life with. Who would have thought that in the end, he would drive me to despair, influenced by his mother's preference for male children and her toxic ideology. I forgot the saying, like mother, like son. If the beam above is crooked, the one below can hardly be straight. In my heart, I devised a plan. In my previous life, I had often thought that if I could start over, I would leave them with nothing. Gu Yan pulled me into his embrace, feigning concern, and said, "Honey, the Zhang family downstairs just bought a new house. They put down a 35% deposit and saved tens of thousands in taxes." Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked up and half-jokingly asked, "But isn't there a limit on buying property? How did they manage?" In Haicheng, the policy is that the down payment for the first property is 35% with a deed tax of 1.5%, but for the second property, it rises to 70%. and the tax doubles. Singles can buy one property, and married couples can purchase a second one after marriage. Zhang Wang and his wife got a fake divorce, transferred their current property to his wife, and took out a mortgage in his name as if it was their first property. I hesitated. A fake divorce? Couldn't that be discovered? He playfully tapped my nose. Silly wife, their process is all legitimate. No one can uncover it. My mother-in-law's eyes flickered with curiosity. How much can they save? Gu Yan mysteriously raised a hand. Between the interest and deed tax, at least 500,000, that much. I covered my mouth in surprise. And there's no risk, not a bit of risk. Two people in love can't be separated by just a certificate, Gu Yan said, looking at me affectionately. This made my stomach churn, suppressing my disgust at his greasiness. I looked back at him lovingly. You're right, husband, let's think it over. Hearing this, Gu Yan perked up immediately. Even his mother's eyes sparkled with an unusual gleam. He took out his computer and started tapping away on it. We need at least 65 million ready, 10 million total, 5 million in taxes, and a 5 million down payment. How much do you have in your account, honey? As I observed his intense gaze, I slightly furrowed my brow. I've got about 1 million in this card. What about you? He paused, seemingly surprised by the meager amount in my account. His mother was the first to react excitedly. You've been working for 7 or 8 years and you're a director. How come you have so little saved? I wiped the corner of my eye and explained. In the past few years, my younger uncle back home needed money to build his house. And Mom, you said since he has no other relatives, we should support him as a matter of honor. His family needed 300,000, and we agreed they would pay it back in 2 years. Gu Yan's money was tied up in the stock market, so we took the 300,000 from my account. Also, I've been covering Gu Tingting's tuition from high school and her university tuition and living expenses every month, which amounts to about 50 or 60,000 a year. And Mom, all those supplements and health medicines you take, along with the regular nursing home fees, cost about 70 or 80,000 a year. My mother-in-law awkwardly laughed. We're all family, and it's your duty to contribute. Isn't 1 million enough? I smiled. Well, there's Gu Yan, who works in a foreign enterprise and earns no less than me, about 500,000 a year. Over the past few years, he only took 100,000 a year for household expenses from home, which should have saved up almost 300,000, adding to my 1 million. That's enough. Gu Yan looked embarrassed, occasionally glancing at his mother. Honey, all my money is tied up in the stock market, and I've lost a lot. I knew he was lying. Half of his money had gone to his mother, and the rest he spent on Ding Min. He probably had only about 700 or 800,000 left. He originally planned to benefit without investing anything, so I decided to pull the rug from under his feet. If it really comes down to it, we don't have to fake a divorce. Let's just sell this old house. That should cover about 70% of the cost. Gu Yan and his mother spoke at the same time. No way. I lowered my gaze. Clearly, mother and son were united, and it seemed she knew about her son's affair. What's the matter, if we sell it? Where will your parents live? As a daughter, could you be at peace with that? My mother-in-law earnestly advised. You're right, Mom. My own mother even contributed 1 million back then. We can't sell it. I bowed my head, pondering, and mumbling as I wrote and calculated. It would be great if I could shift 2 million from somewhere. My performance next month is bound to be good. I could apply for an advance on my year-end bonus. Right after I finished speaking, my shrewd mother-in-law immediately chimed in. Son, Xiaoyang, I still have some emergency funds left from your father's accident insurance payout. Let me take it out to help you bridge the gap. Moved by her words, I shook my head repeatedly. How can we take your money? We can. We're family. She insisted eagerly on giving the money. I knew Ding Min was desperate. She had threatened Gu Yan that if he didn't kick me out, she would abort the baby, depriving the Gu family of a grandson forever. I hesitated for a moment, then smiled. We can't just take Mom's money for nothing. How about this? Mom gives the money, and we transfer the old house into Mom's name. Once I get my bonus, I'll pay it right back, so it won't delay Yeye's school enrollment. Hearing this, Gu Yan's furrowed brows immediately relaxed, and I silently scoffed in my heart. He had already cashed out 500,000 from this house once. The horror of usury lies in its compounding interest. In just a couple of months, the amount can multiply several times. This house has always been a ticking bomb in my possession. Putting it under his mother's name, he surely wouldn't fail to save his own mother. Once the issue of the house and money is resolved, The next discussion will be about the custody of our child. My child is my weakness and my obsession. In this lifetime, I will never let Gu Yan take her away from me. The child will be mine. I printed a divorce agreement template from the internet, honey. Check out the linked news below. It's quite something. I handed my phone to Gu Yan, displaying the news. Man deceives woman with a fake divorce and schemes to take custody of the child. Mother faints crying outside the court. Gu Yan's face changed, his smile turning ugly. This is truly despicable, deserving of the deepest hell. Well said, I love hearing that. Curse more, and die sooner. My husband would never do such a thing. Let's write our divorce agreement based on this template. It's fake anyway, doesn't count. I showed him the agreement, and my mother-in-law also peeked over, pausing when she saw the clauses. Custody of the daughter remains with the mother, with a monthly support payment of 10,000 until the child turns 18. Visitation rights are granted to the mother, and the father may not visit privately. My mother-in-law didn't look pleased. Xiaoyang, this template seems unreasonable. Gu Yan nodded. I patiently explained, Mom, we're not really getting divorced. The child support written there is just a formality. We're all family. Would I really ask Gu Yan to transfer money? My mother-in-law was still a bit doubtful, but my husband slightly nodded at her. She immediately fell silent. All right, let's draft it like this. Wife, if you have any other demands, just let me know. Gu Yan patted his chest, looking sincere. I weakly lowered my head, wiping the corner of my eye. A few days ago, my mom called saying she missed Yaya. When Yaya was little, she couldn't sleep flat due to her health issues and had to be held for over a month. She's grown so much. And we haven't properly visited them back in Suzhou, although we're fake divorcing now. If someone with ulterior motives tells Yaya, it would upset her. I want to send her to my mom's for a few days. Hearing it wasn't another demand, Gu Yan immediately relaxed. That's a minor issue. Yaya's kindergarten is on holiday. We can take her to Suzhou for a couple of days. I smiled. Honey, your company is busy, and since we're buying the house, I'll ask my mom for some more renovation money. I can take Yaya back myself. It's awkward for me to ask her. Gu Yan wanted to say something more, but my mother-in-law nudged his leg under the table. That's good. Go back and spend a couple of days with your mom. I printed 2 copies of the divorce agreement. He signed them readily. Gu Yan smiled, raising his eyebrows. Wife, you're so good. I promise as soon as the property deed is issued, we'll remarry immediately. I looked up deeply into his eyes. Husband, swear to me, if you lie to me, you won't die a good death. His expression stiffened for a moment before returning to normal. Wife, I swear, if Gu Yan betrays Lin Yang, I cursed him, wishing he would never find peace. Soon enough, his actions would come back to haunt him. Moreover, why would anyone want to remarry him, a man as desirable as a used and discarded cucumber? I found the very thought repulsive. Mom, remember how you've always wanted to visit Yunnan. I've signed you up for a tour group, once we finish transferring the house ownership. You can go and enjoy yourself for a few days. My mother-in-law's eyes crinkled with joy. I got up and walked towards the bedroom. In my past life around this time, I had also booked her on a tour group, hoping to mend our strained relationship, since she'd be looking after Yuan when she started school. Unexpectedly, during her trip to Yunnan, she got into a fight in a jade shop and smashed several bracelets, which ended with her being detained by the police, to bail her out. I rushed to Yunnan overnight, paid nearly 150,000 yuan, and had to humbly apologize to the shop owners. By the time I returned, Gu Yan had bought a house. He had also married Ding Min, who took advantage of my absence and hid my daughter Yuan. She even spread rumors in the neighborhood, making the neighbors think I had abandoned my family for a lover. She even posted insinuating videos online, threatening and tempting, misleading my daughter into thinking I didn't want her. Yuan was seen desperately crying for her mother in the video. I was viciously attacked online, subjected to a so-called cyber lynching, and branded as immoral. What broke my heart even more was that from that day, I lost contact with my daughter for 2 long years. Yuan was always well-behaved, with fair skin and dimples that appeared when she smiled, warm and endearing. All I could do was sit in our old house, looking at her photos, filled with love for her and hatred for Gu Yan's family. As I endured the long days, I thought I would see brighter days, but instead, I faced a despairing abyss. Only after death did I realize that a soul has weight. My obsession was my daughter Yuan. I couldn't rest in peace without seeing her. Before fading away, I was drawn to where my daughter was. She was in a cramped storage room, less than 4 square meters, without even a bed. In a corner, a yellowed quilt was messily piled up, its torn edges exposing the dark gray cotton inside. There My daughter Yuan curled up on the quilt, resting her head on her arms. When Dingmin took her away, she was 4 years old, clean and beautiful. Now, at 6, she was thin with rough, peeling hands and faint bruises on her thighs. Her once bright eyes were now dull and lifeless. My soul trembled with pain. Yuan, it's mommy, my baby, look at mommy. It's all my fault. Yuan seemed to sense my presence. Slowly lifting her head and groping in my direction, her voice was hoarse, mommy. Her small body suddenly fell onto the quilt, tears at the corners of her eyes, her hands tightly clutching a worn toy bear. Mommy, it hurts. Yuan, even though I screamed and tried to get closer, there seemed to be an invisible barrier between us. I could only watch helplessly as she fell, powerless to do anything. Mommy, when will you come to get me? I've been so good, why haven't you come yet? I hated my weak and foolish self. Gu Yan and Ding Min knew that as long as they had Yuan, I would be powerless. I am left powerless and unable to act. They cruelly exploit my weaknesses, tormenting me deeply. In their eyes, my daughter is nothing but a tool, to keep me from finding Yuan. They locked her in a cramped storage room, denied her kindergarten, and physically tormented her. She's only 6 years old, my heart is bleeding, my body constantly crashing against barriers. The loud wails of children can be heard from outside, footsteps grow louder as they approach, thunderous. And at the sound of slippers, Yuan crawls desperately into a corner, begging softly, Auntie Minmin, please don't hit me, I was wrong. Ding Min kicks the door open and storms in cursing, little beast, can't stay quiet for a second, why the noise? Your mother doesn't want you, nobody wants you, you're just a liability. Her large frame blocks the narrow doorway, the bright light from outside casting a monstrous and terrifying shadow. Behind her, my mother-in-law gently soothes her plump grandson. Min, if the child is disobedient, she needs to be beaten. Spare the rod and spoil the child. This cursed girl still thinks of her unlucky mother. Ding Min's frown relaxes as she grabs a leather belt hanging near the door, her disgust apparent yet tinged with a hint of excitement. The belt whips through the air, striking my daughter's leg, her screams of agony piercing the moment. Don't hit me, it hurts so much. Yuan's cries trigger the chubby boy to start crying too. Ding Min gets even angrier, her expression darkens. Cry, just like your mother, who looks down on us country folks. What's so great about being an only child? Flaunting her husband's Chanel purchases. Saying I have poor learning skills and am frivolous, but didn't I still marry your father and become your mother? I have the right to hit you because you're just a girl. I frantically crash against barriers, screaming silently, just because I kindly advised her to not just live for her family, to love herself and strive for better. Every time her brother asked for money, she would skimp and save, sending back her internship salary, living on plain buns and bottled water, by accident. I wounded her fragile pride, and after speaking with the boss, got her a permanent position early, yet, she harbored resentment, even destroying my family and my daughter. It turns out that no matter how you try to guide those inherently poor and lowly, it's futile. When Gu Yan returned from work, he was met with a chaos of crying. I looked at him pleadingly, hoping he could at least stop the frenzied Ding Min. Unexpectedly, his face was cold and indifferent, merely saying, keep the noise down. We've been complained about, the community committee will come knocking, and it's troublesome. This man has been part of my life for half of it, from college to marrying and having a daughter. I've been with him for 12 years and yet never saw through his cold-heartedness. I remember back in college, he wore his faded clothes, standing at the student union door, asking the president for a part-time job. His tone was pleading, yet he stood straight and firm. Even when the club president finally refused, he simply said thank you with a faint smile. His demeanor conveyed a spirit that was not impoverished by his circumstances, which deeply moved me. The moment he turned his head, the cold expression between his brows caught my eye, and it felt like an eternity in a single glance. Later, I helped him find a job organizing books at the library. During our free time, I loved to tease him, hidden behind the bookshelves in a secluded corner. I would steal a kiss on his lips. We fell in love, he said. Xiaoyang, you will always be my favorite. Now, however, in his eyes, our daughter Yaya is nothing but a nuisance. Anger swept through my body, and the wind howled outside the window. The chubby boy was so frightened that he passed out. Their whole family couldn't bother with Yaya anymore. They hurriedly dressed and took the child to the hospital. I watched Yaya curl up under the worn blanket, holding the little bear I bought for her. She sobbed softly. Yaya will run away. Mom won't leave Yaya behind. My heart was breaking, and I hated that I couldn't personally punish the heartless beast that hurt her. In a daze, I finally broke through the barrier. I embraced my frail daughter and murmured, "Mom loves you." A sigh echoed in my ears. "Then I'll give you another chance, cherish it." Every time I think back, my heart aches, pinching the travel guide between my fingers. I opened WeChat and found travel agent Wang from Company A, changed the luxury Yunnan tour to a Pinduoduo shopping tour for me. Agent Wang replied quickly, "Sister, that tour is all about shopping, not much sightseeing." I said, "Yes, my mom just wants to spend money, she loves those jade bracelets." Agent Wang's typing indicator lingered for a while, then he slowly replied, "Okay, I'll make sure Auntie has fun shopping." He promptly refunded the difference between the two tours. The luxury sightseeing tour would have cost over 20,000 per person, but the shopping tour was only 3,000. With the leftover money, I planned to buy my mom a sturdy gold bracelet, indestructible. I handed the travel documents to my mother-in-law. "Mom, have fun next week. I've arranged one-on-one service. Just let them know if you have any requests." My mother-in-law, usually domineering, had always looked down on our previous maid, acting high and mighty. She seemed to think that since I was spending money, I could play God. She smiled joyfully. "Traveling costs too much. What if I see something I like? I, an old lady, won't have the money to buy it." I lowered my gaze and pulled a platinum credit card from my wallet for her. "Mom, this card has a limit of 500,000. It's accepted everywhere. Buy whatever you want." Gu Yan was chatting on the balcony, his eyes crinkling with laughter. It seemed he couldn't wait to report to Ding Min. Without changing my expression, I continued, "Mom, keep the card safe and don't let Ian find out. He'd complain again about buying those useless stones." My mother-in-law took the card, her tone softening. "Yes, that stinky boy never thinks of his mom, always thinking about his wife." She realized she misspoke and abruptly changed the subject. "But my daughter-in-law is good, like a daughter, really thoughtful." I smiled naturally. After all, it wasn't my card. And I wouldn't mind if the old lady maxed out her son's card. Originally, this card was a mandatory allocation from their company. Gu Yan thought the card fees were too high, but I thought it was good to keep for emergencies, and now it had come in handy. My mother-in-law said, "I'm leaving now. But who will feed the little yellow cat downstairs?" I snapped back to reality and smiled. "Mom, I'm here, even though I'm divorcing Gu Yan. I'm not leaving the house. And feeding the cat is no trouble at all." Gu Yan finished his call, looking refreshed as he came out, picking up the suit he had left on the sofa. "Honey, something came up at work. I need to step out." I stood up to straighten his tie, asking, "Will you be back for dinner?" "No, I have to entertain clients with drinks." Internally, I scoffed, entertaining clients. Or rather celebrating with Ding Min that he's rid of his legitimate wife, celebrating their perfect little family of 3. Fulfilling their wishes. Can happiness built on the suffering of others truly last? I sneered and yanked his tie forcefully. Gu Yan slapped my hand away, his face turning red. "What's wrong, dear?" I forced a smile, just excited about moving into the new house. He bent down to kiss me, but I turned my head away. Who would want to kiss a rotten cucumber? I was afraid I might bite his tongue off. "My lips are peeling. It's uncomfortable." Gu Yan gently touched my head, his eyes filled with sympathy. "Seabrand's new lip balm is quite good, you should try it." Ha, as if a man who quibbles over every small expense would actually buy a lip balm that costs over 1,000. After Gu Yan left, my mother-in-law couldn't wait to convert her fixed deposit to a checking account. Suddenly, the house felt empty. I quickly went to my computer and logged into the iCloud account I had set up for Gu Yan, for his birthday last year. I had bought him a new iPhone and even set up 2 terabytes of cloud storage to automatically save his data. But just 2 months later, after a business trip, he claimed he lost the phone and complained about not liking the iPhone, so I got him an Android instead. Later, I discovered Ding Min flaunting the latest iPhone model. Back then, I naively asked her. "Ding Min, that's the latest model, over 10,000, right? Finally treating yourself well." Her face was full of joy, a smug look in her eyes. "It's a Qixi festival gift from my boyfriend." After logging in, sure enough, the cloud storage showed 200 gigabytes used. I opened the photo stream and indeed found numerous vanity shots of Ding Min, along with several explicit photos taken while Gu Yan was asleep. I was even shocked that Ding Min was foolish enough to upload them directly using Gu Yan's account. Going through the photos one by one, I gradually pieced together the timeline. It all started the day I asked Ding Min to pick up Yaya. It was raining, she didn't have an umbrella, and was pitifully hiding at the nursery's entrance, her white blouse nearly see-through. Gu Yan merely draped his suit jacket over her shoulders and bought her a warm milk tea. That was when Ding Min started harboring ulterior motives, one intent on seduction, the other curious about a fling. I saved those disgraceful photos and backed them up onto a USB drive, then I casually used a phone harassment website, spending 50 yuan to enter Gu Yan's phone number. For the next 12 hours, he would receive endless spam messages. I had told him before, Android phones, with their open sources, have privacy like transparent underwear. It looks covered, but in reality, it hides nothing. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, a strange call came through. Gu Yan's groggy voice came on the line. Honey, my cell phone broke down. I pretended to be a devoted wife. Is everything okay? It should be fine. I've turned it off. Honey, I have to work late tonight and won't be able to come home. I gave a forced laugh, my acting poor, yet my tone was filled with concern. Then take care of yourself. After hanging up, my first thought was that this unfamiliar number belonged to Ding Min. I pulled out a spare phone to search the number and, sure enough, a female profile picture popped up. I clicked on it and there was Ding Min. I clicked to add her. I'm the loan department manager at XX Bank. I sent the message, uncertain if Ding Min would accept, but I was half sure she would. They must be eager to find out how to buy a house. I tossed my phone aside. I logged into Gu Yan's WeChat. The first account was clean. Nothing there. I suddenly remembered that when I had the broadband installed, they provided a number. I tried logging in with it, and sure enough, there was his photo. At first, I thought Gu Yan was aloof, but it turned out he was just insecure and sensitive. Coming from the countryside, he knew very little, so he put on a cold front to cover up his fragile self-esteem. Even now, he was still the same. I was the one who originally set up his WeChat account, using a password he'd gotten used to over the years and never changed. I tried it and got in immediately. I thanked him for his laziness. Over the years, I really spoiled him, thinking that a beggar in a suit could hide the stench clinging to him. The chat history meticulously recorded each of their schemes. At first, it was just Ding Min sharing her daily life. Gradually, Gu Yan lost himself in the dreams Ding Min wove for him. Praised repeatedly by her, he was lifted high. Until Ding Min got pregnant. I'm pregnant, but don't worry, Yan bro, I'm right outside the hospital. Just say the word, and I'll get it taken care of. How could you be pregnant when I took precautions? Ding Min sent a koi emoji. Yan bro, you forgot. That day I wore a sexy skirt, and you were all over me. We didn't take precautions that day. I can't get divorced, but Min, I don't want to hurt you either. What a convenient thought. Unwilling to let go of his own home while also desiring the wildflower outside. Yan bro, I understand, but it's a boy. I can't give him up. We both come from the countryside where boys are favored over girls. What if I can't have a boy if I remarry? Reading this chat made me feel nauseous. It was a disgrace to the simple and unpretentious image of rural people. It was clearly her own deep-seated preference for boys over girls. Despite being a woman who had endured much hardship in life, she ended up just like her mother, all for the sake of bearing a son. Who do you plan to marry? Carrying my son? I won't allow it. You're my woman, and my son can only have the surname Gu. What should we do then? Lin Yang is so dominant, you'll end up with nothing. Don't worry, I'll find a way. His method was to exploit my sincerity, deceive me into a sham divorce, and use our daughter, Yaya, as leverage. He set traps for me. Watching as I sank deeper into the mire while he soared to success, all the evidence was preserved. I logged out of WeChat and packed Yaya's luggage overnight, just in case anything changed. I contacted my best friend, Jiaoning, and told her I was tied up with some matters for the next few days and asked if Yaya could stay with her. Jiaoning had been the only one who stood by me unfailingly in my previous life. She had always helped me gather evidence, standing with me in court time and again. Checking the time, I took a deliberate shower. I patted my cheeks and took a deep breath nervously, pacing back and forth at the nursery school gate. My daughter, Yaya. After more than 700 days, I could finally hold my beloved again. At the nursery, music played and the children, led by their teachers, stepped out in adorable little strides. Yaya was wearing a creamy yellow outfit today, waving frantically at me. Tears moistened my eyes. She politely waved goodbye to her teacher and ran into my arms. Mommy, Yaya missed you so much. She was carefree, unable to contain her longing even after just a day apart, and I, after more than 700 days, finally held her in my arms, smelling the faint scent of milk on her. Mommy loves you so much too. At that moment, I truly felt alive. I could start over. My daughter is my weakness, but also my armor. I vowed that those who hurt her in my past life would not have a good end. I took my daughter to Pizza Hut, ordering her favorite pizza. She looked up at me with her big round eyes, puzzled. Mommy, Grandma will be angry if she knows. My mother-in-law despised fast food, ridiculing it as just a Chinese pancake with a couple of slices of meat sold for over 100, yet she, herself, couldn't fit her fake gemstones in her drawers and still preached, "Jade nourishes the body, what do you know? Her tens of thousands worth of jade for nourishment." Yet my daughter isn't worthy of 100 yuan pizza. From now on, if Yaya wants to eat, we'll eat, don't mind her, I said, caressing her cute Neza-style hair, filled with love. After eating a slice of pizza, Yaya turned to me with a sad look. Mommy, did Yaya do something wrong? I was puzzled. Last month, Daddy took me to eat pizza, and I didn't tell you. I laughed. That's nothing, but we were with Aunt Minmin, and she said it was our little secret. I paused, stunned. Since coming back, many memories were a bit jumbled. Last month, Ding Min took over a small project. She led it, and I assisted from the side. I wanted her to achieve good results, to earn the bonus and become permanent sooner. Our company differs from others. There's a 6-month internship followed by a 1-year probationary period. After becoming permanent, the salary doubles. I pitted her for her family favoring sons over daughters, pitted her living her whole life for her brother, yet she coveted my life, wishing to replace me and rise instantly. Mommy, I saw Aunt Minmin's foot on Daddy's lap, and Daddy said she had a thorn in her foot, but I think that's wrong. Daddy's lap should only be for Mommy. Yaya was serious, her child's world starkly black and white, never gray. My hands gripped tightly in my lap as I spoke solemnly. Yaya, Mommy has something important to tell you. Do you trust Mommy? I've never considered my 4-year-old daughter too young. I always teach her to distinguish clearly between love and hate, and to be fair and just in her actions. Yaya tilted her head and looked at me with innocent eyes. She scampered off her seat, ran over, and hugged my waist tightly, saying, Yaya will always love Mommy. With tears held back, I whispered, Mommy and Daddy are going to separate. Before I could cry, she began to sob. Mommy, Yaya had a dream last night. I dreamed that Daddy was with Aunt Minmin. She hit me, and Daddy kicked me. It hurt so much. I don't have a home anymore. I want to stay with Mommy. I saw the determination in her eyes. It dawned on me that Yaya, too, had undergone a rebirth, but because she is so young, she thought it was all just a dream. Why don't Yaya go to Aunt Jiangying's house to play for a couple of days? After Mommy finishes handling things, we'll go back to Suzhou to find Grandma. Okay, we fed each other, savoring this hard-earned moment of mother-daughter bonding. I handed my sleeping daughter to Jiangying. Her face clouded with worry. She asked, Yang, what happened? I replied, coldly composed, Gu Yan cheated, and he's trying to steal our joint assets. That scoundrel. I knew he was no good. Jiangying was furious. Last week I saw him at CJ Mall buying something from brand C, and I thought, he's too stingy to buy anything nice for you, must be for his mistress. After saying this, she rolled up her sleeves, ready to confront him. I couldn't help but laugh and hugged her. You are so kind. But I already have a plan. There's just one thing I need from you. You just say the word, whether it's to chop up that mistress or to handle it online. Please take Yaya to my mom's, help them rent a new place, and make sure Gu Yan doesn't find out. I handed her Yaya's household registration book and ID card. And what about you? I'll come back for you once they're settled. You're not to be alone. I nodded, okay. After ensuring my daughter and best friend were safe, I immediately sought out a private detective. Money talks. In my previous life, gathering evidence was incredibly difficult due to lack of funds, but in this life, looking at the string of zeros in my bank account, I felt reassured. Our company had a profit-sharing plan, and I always reinvested my annual bonus. In my past life, I had shared all my financial information with Gu Yan to scrape together a down payment. This time, I wouldn't make the same mistake. He didn't know about the money I had. I spent 200,000 for a private detective to monitor Gu Yan around the clock. With an additional 50,000 if they captured evidence of infidelity. You get what you pay for. As soon as I left the detective agency, they were already in position. Gu Yan's car was parked right under Ding Min's rental apartment. I logged into the OnStar navigation system, downloaded nearly a year's worth of driving records. Ding Min's secondary social media account was mostly filled with posts related to Gu Yan. They had steak dinners, kissed on the Ferris wheel, and decorated their cozy little home together. They acted like a married couple to the outside world. There was even an ultrasound report. She wrote, 300 days, and we're having a baby boy. I will definitely be as perseverant and brave as Dad. It took me an entire evening to sort out all the clues. My eyes were sore, but my spirit was exhilarated. My counterattack had begun. Indeed, Gu Yan didn't come back the entire weekend. On Monday, I took his mother to transfer the property. Fortunately, back then she insisted on having her name on the property certificate after seeing my mother's name on it. Otherwise, we couldn't have transferred it directly. Before signing, Gu Yan even stepped out to make a phone call. I knew who he was calling. It was the bald man from his mortgage loan. He was probably confirming that as long as the house was transferred to me within the specified time, the debt would naturally become mine too. He signed decisively. My mother-in-law was somewhat reluctant to transfer $2 million into my account, and an auntie who saw the deal immediately questioned me. Selling the Ida Garden house for only $2 million, young lady, you must be mistaken. It's worth $260,000 in the current market. I just smiled. We're all family here. A little discount doesn't matter. The enthusiastic old auntie patted my mother-in-law on the shoulder. Old sister, you've made a great deal here. Do you want it? If not, sell it to me. $2 million is a steal. My mother-in-law immediately pushed her away. Why wouldn't I want it? The bounty stays within the family. The house is mine. She quickly transferred $2 million into the account I provided, noting it as payment for the house. The old auntie winked at me as she left. I thought to myself that the auntie's acting skills were worth way more than 500 yuan, better than many movie stars. In the morning, I sold the house. In the afternoon, we went to file for divorce. Before entering, I tugged at Gu Yan's clothes and whispered, Ian, I've looked into it. Now, during a divorce, they require a heart-to-heart talk. To ensure we get the certificate without fail, pinch me a couple of times. When we go in, I'll cry and say that you hit me. You gamble and owe money to usurers. I had no choice but to divorce you, and as compensation, you agreed to leave everything to me. Gu Yan, caring about his reputation, was hesitant. I seized the moment to press further. It's also because I need to buy a house. After the divorce cooling-off period, the policy might change, and it could take 2 years post-divorce to be eligible to buy a house. Just then, Gu Yan's phone rang. He stepped aside to take the call, avoiding me. I quietly listened from behind a flower pot, casually sending messages on my phone. Gu Yan's voice carried over. Still deep and cold. It's being processed. Don't rush me. What? The loan manager said I must be married to get the full loan amount, and with a new policy, for a school district house, the child's residency must be registered at birth. Alright, don't cry. I'll handle it immediately. I'll find an excuse to send her away in a bit. You come over then, and we'll pick up the certificate and pay the deposit this afternoon. I slowly smiled, typing on my phone. No worries. The policy is strict now. You better hurry up. Ding Min was never the brightest. I added her on WeChat under the guise of being the loan manager. Within 2 days, she was frantically ready to proceed. She probably feared Gu Yan might slip away. After all, by her standards, Gu Yan was a top-tier choice. The moment I stepped through the door, I asked Gu Yan, will you have regrets? He paused, then smiled handsomely. What's there to regret about buying a house? Good, I said, sincerely smiling. I wish you a smooth sailing future. He gave a fake cough. And to you too. From then on, it was just you and me. Sure enough, the civil affairs officer led us into separate rooms. She sat in front of me, silent. I immediately burst into tears, revealing my bruised arms, appealing for sympathy. We're all women here, who would want a divorce if they could still bear their life. The officer looked at me, troubled, and asked, what happened to your hand? He did it. Adultery, domestic violence, gambling. He even took my daughter out with his mistress for fun, and she came back sick. My child is my red line. He's nearly gambled away his share of our property, the house my mother bought. His mother sold it for less than market value. Now, I had just one request, a divorce. Moved by my tragic story, the officer's eyes reddened. She soon returned with a document. It was Gu Yan's affidavit. He admitted to domestic violence and taking on high-interest loans which led to our marriage falling apart, agreeing to leave the marriage with nothing. Impressive. The officer hugged me, comforting. Don't be afraid. Women must bravely say no. The state has your back. I cried genuinely this time. Throughout this turbulent journey, I persevered, but collapsed at a stranger's kindness. Thank you. Can I add you on WeChat? The officer smiled. Of course. You can also reach out if you're feeling down. I'm a psychological counselor here. You'll make it through. When I walked out, Gu Yan looked upset. The divorce certificate was stamped. The marriage certificate was marked as void, one for each of us. And from then on, we went our separate ways. Red commemorated by red, heralding a new life. As we left, Gu Yan immediately played the victim. Wife, those staff members were so harsh just now. I pointed towards the marriage registration area. Do you see how joyful the staff there are? He nodded, puzzled. Just a wall apart, left side laughing, right side crying. Love is beautiful, but when it's gone, all that's left is a mess. Gu Yan paced back and forth, a sign of his guilt, which I chose not to point out. What's wrong, Yan? I asked him first, and he sighed in relief. I have to pick someone up shortly. I told them to wait. I'll take you home first. His voice was full of guilt, but the eager tilt of his eyes betrayed him. I can get back by myself. Your work is important. If I didn't leave, how could he get his certificate and pledge his vows to someone else? He watched as I left. Then, I received a message from a private investigator, arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, followed by a photo. Ding Min wore a red dress, no longer meek, radiating triumphant pride, but her pride shattered at the marriage registration. The staff there mocked them. Wow, divorced in the morning, married in the afternoon, you've mastered seamless transitions. Gu Yan looked embarrassed, while Ding Min was visibly angry. We are here to register our marriage legally and properly. My teacher just scolded me, saying, it's legal and compliant, but it's not ethical. Ding Min, upset, clutched his stomach and looked pitifully at Gu Yan. Ultimately, under Gu Yan's complaints and threats, the Civil Affairs Bureau reluctantly processed their registration. They didn't even offer a congratulatory remark. I received 2 videos, one from a detective, and another from a psychologist. There was also a congratulatory message. Congratulations on your rebirth. Feel free to reach out if you need anything. I replied, thank you, indeed. Trash belongs in the trash bin. Using the name of my loan officer, I shared many posts about the changes in Haicheng real estate in my social circle. Sure enough, Gu Yan called me soon after. Honey, the sales agent at Green Court said that a lot of people are interested in that apartment. I want to secure it now. Can you send me 500,000? 500,000? I don't even have 50. I replied, right away. Then I threw my phone away and sat in a cafe, sipping on a mocha, watching young couples hand in hand on the street. Lovers intimately sharing an ice cream. Love is beautiful, but not at the expense of oneself. Gu Yan grew impatient. His calls followed one after another, his tone somewhat irate. Lin Yang, why haven't you transferred the money? I could also hear a salesperson in the background. Mr. Gu, you better hurry. Several groups are interested in this house. Yan, I forgot this card has a limit and I rushed the password. It got locked. The bank said it will take 5 working days. What about the house then? You still have hundreds of thousands on your card. You secure it first, and when my mom's money comes through, I'll send it all to you. He was a bit impatient. Let's just do that. He thought he had me figured out, assuming he had succeeded in manipulating me over the years. He had forgotten that I am a wolf in the business world, who once single-handedly dominated the sales in the entire eastern China region. A wolf doesn't turn into a dog. No matter how much it's fed veggies, it only harbors kindness because of its cubs. I lay on the sofa, casually browsing through Ding Min's alternate account. Sure enough, I saw a real estate sales contract clearly listing Gu Yan and her name. Finally, we have a home together. Then they held hands, unquestionably in love. They even went out for a candlelight dinner, enjoying red wine, steak, and the night view, utterly content. When Gu Yan came home, his face flushed, slightly staggering. He suddenly embraced me. Have you been drinking? I frowned slightly, out of character. He loosened his tie and sank into the sofa, no longer hiding his frustrations from over the years. I quietly picked up his clothes, softly and tenderly. I've made a great meal. Let's celebrate. Gu Yan enjoyed my cautiousness. I opened a bottle of high-proof liquor, and the table was set with braised lamb chops, stir-fried leeks with eggs, sautéed conch with meat, and chicken stewed with chestnuts, all of which were incompatible with steak and red wine. Honey, why did you make so many delicious dishes today? I took a sip of the liquor. Yan, we've worked hard for so many years. We finally have a house, a car, and children. You must never leave me. My eyes reddened slightly. A gentle smile on my face. Gu Yan, under my coaxing, drank one glass after another. In the past, I always considered his health and never let him eat heavily at night, not to mention hard liquor. Last year, his medical report showed poor stomach indicators, and the doctor advised him to take good care of himself to prevent the risk of cancer. Since that day, our dining table at home has been filled with healthy recipes. He switched to a vegetarian diet, and I joined him. He was somewhat downcast because of this. This year, he used overtime as an excuse to indulge with Ding Min. I decided to add fuel to the fire. In the following days, he started coming home later and later. I saw from Ding Min's social media that they were enjoying fine dining and sharing exquisite wines. I responded by sending him various soups and tailor-made dishes. I saw Ding Min's post on social media. Someone's willing to be a free nanny. I'm happy to enjoy it. I smiled lightly. Good for her if she enjoys drinking. Gu Yan hadn't received the money yet, so naturally, he was still eager to please me. I was also willing to play along. Every day, I varied the meals I delivered to him. When he came home, I would prepare delicious food for him, occasionally accompanied by a bottle of white liquor, pampering him. Whenever he asked about the money, I excused it as the bank still processing it. To avoid arousing his suspicions, I even transferred 10,000 to him recently. I've used the excuse of not feeling well to take a few days off from work. I completely ignored the project that Ding Min was handling, until one day, she called me crying, "Sister Lin, you need to come back. There's a problem with the project." It was inevitable that the project would encounter problems. As a junior college graduate, if it wasn't for my support, the project would have failed long ago. I'll be right back. When I arrived at the office, people around me whispered and looked at me strangely. I gave a cold laugh, knowing that what was expected had arrived. As soon as I entered, Ding Min came running out. Her plain features and naturally drooping eyes made her look vulnerable, which easily triggered men's protective instincts. "Sister Lin, I didn't mean to mess up the contract. I really just misread it." She had added an extra zero to a contract that was supposed to be for 3 million, turning it into 30 million. This was no minor mistake, it was a colossal blunder. Boss Qin Fang's expression was grim. "Lin Yang, come in." He was my senior in college, the year I interviewed. He happened to be starting a business. We shared the same vision and hit it off immediately. I followed him from scratch. It can be said that we complemented each other. In 8 years, I rose from a junior employee to marketing director, not through connections, but through genuine ability. Even when I was falsely accused of causing a scandal in my previous life, leading to a work mishap, Qin Fang only asked me to take a break at home. He also helped as much as he could with my daughter Yuan's legal case. President Qin Fang, tall and lean, stood by the window, his handsome brows furrowed. "Lin Yang, you don't need to plead for Ding Min. She lacks the capability and has caused the company losses." I smiled. "I don't plan to plead for her. We are all adults here. I won't take the blame." Qin Fang's brows relaxed. "Finally, you're seeing clearly. What about the Suzhou project I mentioned last time? Have you considered it?" "I'm willing to take it. In my previous life, for the sake of Gu Yan and my daughter, I gave up the Suzhou project." Refusal to become a partner. We shook hands firmly. "It's a pleasure working with you, President Lin." "The pleasure is all mine, President Qin." Before leaving, I gave him a smile and said, "Had the security come up, I might need to throw some punches soon." I walked out under Qin's astonished gaze. Passing by the pantry, Fu Chang from the always hostile Division 2 was chatting leisurely with his team members. "This time, the intern she brought has messed things up. The Suzhou project will surely go to Director Fu." Fu Chang raised his eyebrows with a smirk. "That's not certain. After all, she is President Qin's person," his team member added. "She slept her way up. I heard she got divorced because she hooked up with our President Qin. They've been together for a while." The men snickered. "She does have a great figure. Wonder how much it would cost to spend a night." "You think you're President Qin? He's got the looks and the money. What do you have?" "I'm good in bed." Haha. I found it utterly ridiculous. I pushed the door open. Our eyes met, and I exclaimed in shock, "Is this true? I didn't even know." Fu Chang tried to play it off. "We were just chatting." "How can this be just chatting? I didn't know my divorce was because I slept with President Qin." My voice grew loud, attracting the attention of nearby colleagues. Ding Min was the first to rush over. "Sister Lin, you got divorced," she shouted, making sure everyone could hear. I grabbed her by the leg and slapped her hard across the face, pointing at her nose as tears streamed down my face. "Wasn't it because of you? You slept with my husband, got pregnant with his child, and coerced him into hitting me. We got divorced this morning, and you went to register your marriage in the afternoon." I grabbed her collar and slapped her repeatedly, crying and shouting, "You were the only one in the unit who knew about my divorce. Even President Qin didn't know. You deliberately wanted to disgrace me." Before she could react, I pulled out my phone and called the police. "I'm reporting this. I've been slandered and assaulted." When Qin walked out, hearing me recount the situation through tears, the faces of Fu Chang and his group turned pale. They denied everything continuously. "President Qin, we just talked too much. It's all hearsay." Qin's presence was commanding. "Hearsay? From whom?" The men started turning on each other, one mentioning chat records, tracing from Division 2 to finance, then from finance to logistics. Finally, the cleaning lady stepped forward, trembling as she pointed at Ding Min, who was crouched on the floor. It was little Ding. I heard her on the phone in the restroom. When she saw me, she made me swear to keep it a secret, mentioning that Director Lin had strong backing with President Qin supporting her. It turned out that Ding Min was the source of the rumors, but in this life, the time and situation did not favor her. I no longer held back, clinging to Qin's sleeve, crying uncontrollably. I said, President Qin. I treated her well despite her seducing my husband and inciting him to hit me. I didn't want to trouble her, but I can't stand us being slandered together. Qin responded, we must investigate thoroughly. The police arrived and took everyone back to the station. When Gu Yan arrived, he looked utterly confused. I had sent my mother-in-law to Yunnan early on. By now, she should be about ready to pawn her bracelet. When Gu Yan saw the dark bruises swelling on Ding Min's face, he didn't approach. Ding Min, feeling wronged, called out to him, Brother Yan, pretending to be concerned. Gu Yan rushed over to me and asked, Wife, how are you? The police officer looked shocked, probably never having seen such shamelessness before. I waved my arms frantically and shouted, Don't hit me, I've been obedient. We're divorced, stop hitting me. What are you talking about, wife? After hearing the police's account, his eyes reddened. I didn't hit Lin Yang, our divorce was fake. I took the opportunity to pull out his marriage certificate with Ding Min, a fake divorce, and a real marriage. The police officer's attitude worsened after seeing the evidence I presented. Lin Yang, are you playing games with me? He charged at me to hit me. I didn't dodge and took a slap squarely. His hands grabbed my neck, his eyes bloodshot with rage. As if he wanted to kill me. Blood trickled from my nose. It didn't hurt. I was even somewhat thrilled, wishing he would slap me again, but the police intervened. The entire police station was outraged that someone would resort to violence here. The police didn't hesitate to handcuff him. With a click, they handcuffed him to a chair. A policewoman handed me an ice pack, and I thanked her carefully and timidly. Miss Lin, is there anything we can do for you? If you want to sue him, we can detain him for intentional injury. I pulled out the divorce agreement. He hasn't paid me a penny in alimony. Upon hearing this, Ding Min immediately stood up. He's Yu's father. If he goes to jail, it will leave a record and affect you too. Plus, your agreement is fake. It was only written for buying a house. It has the Civil Affairs Bureau's seal and a confession he wrote at the bureau. It's all here. I calmly took out all the documents. I am a law-abiding citizen. We are truly divorced, including chat records, hotel records, shopping lists, property transactions, and proof of mortgage payments, debt acknowledgements. Comrade officer, I've been with him for 12 years, I've maintained his family's ancestral grave, supported his sister's education, and the house under my name was funded by my mother, with the mortgage paid by me. The house, worth $2.5 million in the market. I only asked for $2 million. I haven't taken any undue advantage from him. As the guilty party, I only want my daughter and the alimony, which is 20% of his salary, paid in full, so I have no further dealings with this scum. All evidence showed that I didn't take a single penny more than I deserved from Gu Yan. Over the years, I have fulfilled all my responsibilities as a wife, a daughter-in-law, and a mother. He wronged me. I smiled helplessly. As long as he pays all the alimony in full at once, I won't sue him. And we can go our separate ways. Gu Yan was restrained, his whole person furious, the handcuffs clanging loudly. I just stood aside, expressionless. Ding Min knelt before me, embracing my legs. Sister Lin, it's all my fault. Please don't pressure him. Give us a couple of days. As she played on my emotions, I too began to cry uncontrollably. She shocked everyone around her. I have dedicated myself to my family, laboring to the point of growing white hair. When my daughter was born prematurely and I was being worn down by life, he was enjoying red wine and steak with his mistress, while I only used inexpensive lip balm for my dry lips. He spent thousands on his mistress, buying her bags and cars. For his mistress and the child she carried, he abandoned me, breaking our vows. Ding Min's face turned pale, and cold sweat trickled down her forehead. She clutched her stomach and lunged at me with a fierce look in her eyes. Of course, I couldn't let her frame me. I pretended to cry so hard that I gasped for air and collapsed into the arms of a police officer. Ding Min fell to the ground. I closed my eyes tightly and remained still. Yan Ge, my stomach hurts so much. Ding Min cried. There's so much blood, my child. Gu Yan also shouted desperately. Min, amidst the chaos, I lay comfortably in the arms of a policewoman and was placed into an ambulance. The days of intense stress had taken their toll, and I genuinely passed out in the ambulance. When I woke up, it was a phone call that roused me. The caller ID showed it was from Yunnan, and I raised my eyebrows as I answered. It was my mother-in-law's distinct and grating voice. Xiaoyang, I can't reach Gu Yan, come to Yunnan, I chuckled. Mrs. Gu, what happened, you're mad, calling me Mrs. Gu. Then I heard little Wang's voice on the phone, sister, it's little Wang. Your mother-in-law has smashed a jade bracelet in our shopping mall worth 400,000, she needs to compensate, and she refuses, asking you to bring the money to Yunnan, little Wang, she's no longer my mother-in-law, I've divorced her son, and all the paperwork is complete. My mother-in-law was still cursing. Lin Yang, are you itching for a beating? I told Gu Yan not to remarry you, hurry up and bring the money. I laughed heartily. Remarry, he's in jail now. And I despise him for holding back my daughter. What? I seized the opportunity to hang up and sent little Wang a WeChat message. She took her son's credit card with her, with a limit of 500,000, that should cover the compensation. I have no ties with them anymore, let's not stay in touch. Little Wang sent me an understanding okay emoji. I blocked my mother-in-law's phone number and WeChat. Later, the police told me that Ding Men lost her child. She had been taking medication to prevent miscarriage and indulged in a diet rich in meats and other heat-producing foods during the summer, which led to unstoppable bleeding following a miscarriage. The miscarriage wasn't properly managed, resulting in an infection. She would not be able to conceive in the future. That's good, a person of such low integrity shouldn't have descendants. If it were a son, he'd just be another Gu Yan. If it were a daughter, it would just be another tragedy. At the flower shop, I bought a bouquet of perfume lilies and walked into the hospital room. Ding Min, looking haggard, sat at the head of the bed. I placed the flowers in a vase and picked up a knife to peel an apple for her. It took her a while to notice me. With a hoarse voice and fierce eyes, she said, Lin Yang, everything you have should have been mine. Everything I have, I earned through my own efforts. I don't need to rely on a man. I excelled academically and was raised to be a person of integrity. My parents taught me to respect and love myself as a girl, ensuring my values were without flaw. I would never intentionally provoke anyone if they were honest and did not scheme against me. However, I clearly dreamed that I would marry him, we would have a big house, and a son. She kept touching her stomach, calling out to her son. I sighed. You had the chance to escape your toxic family, but you chose the easy way out. Several men and women burst into the hospital room. One man leaped forward, grabbed Ding Min's hair, and slapped her, shouting, worthless girl, how dare you get married without bringing the dowry back home? Min, I heard that the guy is really wealthy, give your brother 200,000 for his wedding. Another added, big sister, you're so foolish, how could you sleep with him for nothing? Cries and curses filled the air. Hospital security rushed in. I wiped the knife clean with a tissue, gently placed it on an apple, set it on the bedside table, and silently left the room. As I stepped out of the hospital, police sirens began to blare outside. Did you hear? There was a murder in the maternity ward on the 5th floor. A woman stabbed her brother. I looked up at the sky, where sunlight peeked through the clouds and warmed me. Later, Gu Yan, through the police, offered me 1.5 million to write a letter of forgiveness. I wrote it because he is the father of my daughter, and I didn't want him to have a criminal record that could affect her future. Besides, he didn't have many good days left. Before we fell out, I took him for a medical checkup. I just received the report. It showed his cancer markers had increased 5-fold. He had stomach bleeding, inflammation, and mild liver damage. He said betraying Lin Yang meant a bad end. Now his curse had come true. People really shouldn't make thoughtless vows. Later, Gu Yan kept trying to see me, but I refused. Who would want to see him? He sent one emotional message after another. Yang, my dearest, I love you the most. I was wrong. Please forgive me. I just made a mistake any man could make. I'll transfer the old house to you. Let's be a family again. Shall we remarry? I blocked and deleted him immediately. The private detective was diligent, keeping watch 24/7 during the contract period. He later informed me, Gu Yan's mother was escorted back from Yunnan after she realized the card used to pay off the 400,000 bracelet she smashed was Gu Yan's. She regretted her purchase immediately, causing a scene and kicking the shop owner's decorative cabbage at the entrance. It was worth 500,000. She was stunned and was escorted back from Yunnan. After all, she still had a property worth 2.5 million in her name, to avoid prison. Gu Yan took out a private mortgage loan of 1 million to settle my daughter's alimony. The deposit for the new house was lost, and when he went to demand a refund, security kicked him out. With no other options, he listed the house online. Meanwhile, his mother made a trip to Yunnan, and directly for 1 million, Ding Min stabbed her brother to death and then suffered a mental breakdown, ending up in a psychiatric hospital. In a moment of utter desperation, Gu Yan thought of me. I'm no fool. And as a private detective, I gleefully collected the remaining fee and gave a thumbs up, awesome. As he was leaving, the private detective shared some news with a smile. Another piece of good news, sister, Gu Yan was beaten up by loan sharks, vomited blood right there and had to be rushed to the hospital. The doctors said his benign tumor got ruptured during the beating, and now there's no saving him. I laughed so hard. Tears streamed down my face. It seemed even fate didn't want him to live any longer. 13. I packed up all my luggage, and Qin Feng drove me to the airport. He stood there, hand in his pocket, trying to look cool. Lin Yang, have a smooth journey. I smiled, handed him the documents the detective had given me and spread my hands. As your partner, I might have to trick you one more time. He shook the document folder lightly, happy to help, but let's not make this a habit. The folder contained information about Gu Yan illegally selling company data. The plane landed in Sioux City. Yuan ran towards me, holding my mom's hand. When she saw me, she dashed over quickly. I embraced her tightly, kissing her rosy cheeks. Mommy, Yuan missed you so much. I like it here. I like Grandma and Grandpa. Can we stay here forever? Sure, we'll never leave. This is our home now. In the evening, I held Yuan as I read her a fairy tale, and so. The little prince finally found his beloved rose. Yuan, hugging her teddy bear, gave me a kiss, then kissed the bear. Mommy, Yuan had another dream. She looked at me expectantly. I played along. Was it a nice dream? Yes, a beautiful one. The bear said it made a mistake. Yuan should live happily with Mommy forever. So to fix its mistake, it turned grandfather time's clock. So Mommy and Yuan can always be happy. I stared in astonishment at the teddy bear she was holding up. I had sewn that bear bit by bit while I was pregnant. Inside the bear's heart was a peace talisman I had prayed over, my hope for my daughter, health, safety, and a life full of joy and smooth sailing. Story 2. When the cotton mill was allocating housing, my fiancé tricked me into bed. I awoke with a mix of soreness and joy. He said he wanted to give my spot to Bai Yuiguang, a divorced single mother returning to the city, because she needed it more and I still had him, Enan. We've grown up with Sister Xylan, we need to help her, he insisted, naively. I believed him, until, heavily pregnant, I overheard him confessing his love to Bai Yuiguang. It turned out he married me just so Sister Xylan could settle down in the city. I stumbled into the water in a daze, waking from this nightmare. Jiang Muchuan was sitting by the bed, repeating the same words from my dream, Enan. Sister Xylan has had a tough life, now that she's back alone with her child. We really should help her. I woke up gasping for breath to hear those words, identical to those in my dream, lingering in the air that was thick with an embarrassing odor. Jiang Muchuan played with my hair, his touch gentle and lingering, but I felt a chill all over. I couldn't stop shivering. Was it a dream, or a glimpse of a future reality? Why would I dream such a thing? Confused and upset, I dodged Jiang Muchuan's kiss, made up an excuse, and left on shaky legs. Jiang Muchuan didn't stop me. Just before I closed the door, his words floated to me through the chilly autumn air. Don't forget about the housing allocation at the factory this afternoon. I know Enan is the kindest and wouldn't want Sister Xylan to suffer any longer. I wandered the streets in a daze, replaying the events from the dream. After I gave my spot to Zhao Xylan, she and her child moved into a new home quickly, and I found out I was pregnant. I married Jiang Muchuan smoothly, the man I had loved since childhood. Carrying a new life within me, I harbored joyful expectations but came home early one day close to delivery, only to have my dreams shattered. Jiang Muchuan was confessing his love to Zhao Xylan in our marital home, saying he had loved her all these years. He said he married me just to provide Zhao Xylan a home. His eyes were red, filled with repressed and insane love, humbly begging Zhao Xylan to let him take care of her and her child. Eventually, they kissed, unable to part, and I, in a daze, heavily pregnant, fell into the water, leading to a fatal accident for both me and my unborn child. Jiang Muchuan and I were neighbors, having grown up together. He would stand up for me against local bullies and covered for me when I stained my clothes during my period, driving me home on his bike. When I was 16, my parents died trying to save Uncle Jiang. To keep the house we lived in, I dropped out of high school and took over my mother's job, becoming Jiang Muchuan's fiancé in the process. Uncle Jiang arranged our marriage without a word from him, no objections, no refusal. I always thought he liked me too, but now, I'm not so sure. Sitting numbly in the cold wind, my heart felt half frozen, yet my mind started to clear. No matter what, the house was what mattered most to me now. It was the slot my mother left me for giving up my education. I couldn't let anyone else have it. I arrived early at the factory's property department meeting room. the door was slightly ajar. Laughter and teasing echoed down the empty corridor from Jiang Muchuan and his friends. Chuan, you finally got the factory's beauty. Huh, keep it down. I just felt bad for her pining over me for so many years, thinking she was being subtle about it, just as Xylan needed a house and we were engaged. I thought, why not just go ahead with it? You have no idea how happy she was when she was with me. Someone asked. So, Chuan, who do you really like now? Would your father peel your skin off if he knew you tricked Feng Nianan into bed? Jiang Muchuan clicked his tongue. Nonsense. I've liked Zhao Xylan since I was young. You all know that, even if she's divorced and has a child, you still like her, of course. If it wasn't for my parents' reluctance to accept her, I wouldn't have married Feng Nianan. If I can't marry the one I love, I might as well marry someone who loves me. At least she's obedient and pleasing to look at. Right, Jiang Muchuan answered decisively. When he talked about me, there was a faint disdain on his face. Others praised him as a rare romantic in the textile factory. They said that Zhao Xylan was lucky to be loved by him, a blessing cultivated over 800 years. And me, lacking self-respect and self-love, I deserved to be played. I stood outside, clutching my palm tightly, daring not to make a sound. Uncle Jiang is the deputy factory manager, and the others inside were all children of department heads. Falling out with them now would do me no favors in getting a house. I tried to calm my breathing, but humiliation and regret surged like a tide. So, the dream was real. My years of affection for Jiang Muchuan were just a joke to him. If it weren't for the house left by my mother, if there wasn't Zhao Xylan, to him, I was just a compromise. My chest heaved violently. Suddenly, a hand as white as jade rested on my shoulder. I turned around. It was Zhao Xylan's smiling face, holding her child. With gratitude and concern, she said, Nianan, thank you for being willing to give up the house for me. Why do you look so pale? Are you alright? I stared at her blankly. Jiang Muchuan's sister Xylan, who had suffered a lot in the countryside, was dressed in the latest wool coat and scarf from the state-run store. Her child's bib was worth half a month of my salary. She stood there gracefully, making me, in my work uniform, seem even more rough and disheveled. That's right, someone had said the day she came back, I looked more like the one who had come back from the countryside. But how could I not be disheveled? Jiang Muchuan, to show support for her, borrowed all my fabric coupons and half of my food coupons. These days I've been eating rice porridge and nibbling on pickles. Several times I nearly fainted at my workstation, but he said Xylan and her child needed support, and their stepmother wouldn't give them their fair share. We should save and help them get through this. Nianan, Xylan has had a tough life. She used to be so proud. We can't let others look down on her. Jiang Muchuan said so, but he forgot, or rather didn't care. If it weren't for my parents saving Uncle Jiang, I would be a university student like him. Not a high school dropout working shifts in a factory, tirelessly running around for a mere few tens of yuan. I, too, am suffering. I held back the tears in my eyes. I smiled at her. It's nothing, Sister Xylan, just choked by the wind a bit. My tears, they shouldn't be spent here. Their voices carried into the room. Jiang Muchuan hurried out. Seeing it was me and Zhao Xylan, he stiffened for a moment, but quickly, he reached out to embrace me. Greeting Zhao Xylan into the room with a normal expression, I laughed sarcastically. He really put on a good show. The group of people waiting to be allocated houses gradually arrived. The head of the housing department, Chief Liu, cleared his throat and began to read the list. When my name was called, Jiang Muchuan interrupted. Uncle Liu, Nianan and I are about to get married, and I'd like to give my spot to Sister Xylan. Do you think it's okay? He reassured me by squeezing my palm and gave me a wink. Chief Liu laughed. Of course, you can. No. I pulled away forcefully, raising my voice. Chief, this is my spot, and I'm not giving it away to anyone else. For a moment, the air in the meeting room seemed to freeze. Jiang Muchuan's friends looked at me in disbelief. Zhao Xylan, who had been all smiles, turned pale. Jiang Muchuan suppressed the anger in his voice. Uncle Liu, there might be some misunderstanding. Let me talk to Nianan again. He tried to pull me to the water room at the end of the hallway. I didn't move. Instead, I stared at the people in the meeting room, tears rolling down my face. My mother started working in the factory at 14 and spent over 20 years there just to get this apartment. I have no parents left. This apartment is the last thing they left for me, and I'm not giving it away to anyone else. The humiliation of being betrayed and played washed over me at that moment. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe, my eyes red as I apologized to Zhao Xylan. I'm sorry, Sister Xylan. Muchuan said you've had a tough time. I know it hasn't been easy for you, but I really can't give this spot to you. She was at a loss, amidst the surprised or scrutinizing looks from everyone around. She felt so embarrassed she wished she could disappear. I lowered my head to wipe my tears, hiding the coldness in my eyes. My name and the house were now linked together. Stamped with the big red seal of the cotton mill, Jiang Muchuan pulled me to apologize to Zhao Xilan. He didn't seem too happy, but still forced a smile to reassure her. I'm sorry, Sister Xilan, I'll think of another way to help you with the housing and residency. Zhao Xilan also smiled, standing in the wind with her child. Her eyes were slightly red, tears almost falling. She glanced at me with a choked voice. It's okay, Muchuan, I shouldn't have asked for little sister Anne's apartment. It's my fault, don't fight over me. The child in her arms started to cry along. She looked at us apologetically and hurriedly left with her child. Her figure was as frail as a fallen leaf in autumn. Jiang Muchuan watched her for a long time. With things set in stone, Jiang Muchuan hurried to find a new house for Zhao Xilan. His brows furrowed, his expression somber as he looked at me. Once I've settled Sister Xilan, I'll come back to settle things with you. But Feng Yanan, I never thought you could be so petty. You've disappointed me so much. You don't need to come to the family dinner tomorrow night. This family dinner was supposed to introduce me to the Jiang family relatives, a small celebration before our wedding. Being banned from attending was nothing short of humiliating. Logically, I should have felt sad and upset. But right now, my mind was full of dreams of the future. I absent-mindedly listened and even nodded. Okay, it's good that I also need some time to verify the truth of the dream. You, Jiang Muchuan, choked with anger, turned and strode away. I paused for a moment, then walked in the opposite direction. In my dream, after my death, my soul was forced to follow Jiang Muchuan. I watched him marry Zhao Xilan within a year of my death. Now I'm also remarried. Don't you dare look down on her. Zhang's parents could hardly be pleased with the situation. He had fallen out with his parents, resigned from the cotton mill, and moved south with Zhao Xilan and their child to make a living. He tenderly cradled Zhao Xilan's face. Xilan, let's start over somewhere where no one knows us. I didn't care about their vows and promises. What really mattered to me was that after they moved south, they coincidentally experienced the nation's economic reform and opening up. Catching the tailwinds of the free market, they started a small business, became individual entrepreneurs. Step by step, they made a fortune, becoming one of those families worth hundreds of thousands. Meanwhile, the state-owned cotton mill, once a guaranteed job with high benefits, was on the decline. They stopped distributing apartments and no longer took in employees' children. There were even layoffs. If all of this was true, I needed to carve out my own path before then. I went to the busiest street nearby. There were quite a few individual vendors, but fearing accusations of speculative trading, I had never dared to get close. Now, taking a closer look, I realized the items were indeed cheaper than those in stores. Not only was the fabric quality good, but there were also many designs and decorations I had never seen before. Seeing me lost in thought, the vendor auntie leaned in mysteriously. Miss, these clothes are all shipped from the south. They're all the latest Hong Kong goods, very fashionable. I picked a few items and casually asked, so, they don't care anymore? The auntie whispered with a smile. The South stopped caring a long time ago. Our policies here will take a while longer. My son has sorted out the procedures in the South. It's just this place left. Now, the officials turn a blind eye as long as you don't overdo it. I visited a few more stalls on different streets. The responses were similar. It seemed that the rumors were mostly true. I returned to the Jiang family's house to pack up my personal belongings that I had brought. Looking around, the air still carried a faint scent. He had whispered many embarrassing words when he sneaked me in here. From the shy heart of a girl a few days ago, to the calm heart of today, waking from the dream seemed to happen in an instant. Fortunately, I didn't bring much. After packing up briefly, I was ready to leave within minutes. The moment I opened the door, I ran into Jiang Muchuan, who was about to bring Zhao Xilan inside. This house was a welfare benefit designated for young cadres by the factory. It seemed that they planned to let her live here. It should have been this way from the start. Why did they have to set their sights on me? Seeing the things in my hand, Jiang Muchuan unconsciously pursed his lips. Xilan, you go in first. I have something to discuss with Anan, before the door closed. Zhao Xilan's probing gaze swept over me. Then Jiang Muchuan cornered me against the wall, his tone impatient. Feng Yanan, what are you making a fuss about now? I'm not making a fuss, Jiang Muchuan, let's call off our engagement. I quietly looked at him, opening my palm. Inside it was a glossy jade bracelet. You came back just in time. I'm returning this to you. This was the engagement token from back then. And now it was time to return it to its original owner. The winter in Suzhou was very cold. My hand, pulled from my pocket, quickly turned ice cold, but I waited a long time. Jiang Muchuan did not take it. I looked up, puzzled. Why won't you take it? He frowned, a hint of anger in his eyes. Nianan, there's a limit to throwing a tantrum. Don't go overboard. I sighed, finding Jiang Muchuan difficult to communicate with for the first time. I'm serious. I'm not throwing a tantrum. Didn't you say that one should be magnanimous? Since you brought Sister Xylan home, isn't it better for me to leave voluntarily? I don't understand. Isn't this what you wanted? Jiang Muchuan did not respond, his gaze lowered, staring intently at the palm of my hand. The north wind blew through the open windows. I couldn't stand the cold anymore and withdrew my hand first. Jiang Muchuan's expression softened slightly, but his tone was still icy. Don't threaten me with breaking off our engagement every now and then. You know I don't fall for that. As for me and Sister Xylan, it's not what you think. I know you really want to marry me, but let's wait until I've settled things with Sister Xylan, okay? I fell silent, realizing it was futile to talk further with Jiang Muchuan. I had nothing more to say to him, whether he wants the bracelet or not. Returning it to Uncle Jiang and Aunt Song is the same. Having realized this, I pushed him aside and was about to leave. Just then, someone came downstairs. In the narrow corridor, Jiang Muchuan watched me. He didn't stop me. Jiang Muchuan leaned back on the couch. His mind was filled with Feng Yan's cold gaze as she left. He was somewhat distracted. Zhao Xylan smiled, handing him a glass of water with gratitude on her face. Xiaochuan, thank you for lending me your house and helping me with the luggage. Once I find a job, I will definitely pay the rent on time. Sister Xylan is still as gentle and beautiful as I remember. Her woolen coat outlined her graceful figure, completely different from Feng Yan, who only likes checkered shirts and small floral prints. He remembered last night's madness with some relish. Suddenly, he regretted speaking so harshly just now. With Feng Yan's introverted nature, she was probably hiding in a corner, secretly wiping away tears. That was how she was when her parents died, pretending she was fine, only to be found later, her face pale, crying almost to the point of fainting. After all, she is my wife-to-be. For the sake of a harmonious marital life in the future, I should take her to tomorrow night's family dinner. That's what Jiang Muchuan thought. He lifted his head and drank the water in one gulp, a smile unconsciously forming on his lips. Zhao Xylan's heart skipped a beat, and she gently said, "Remember to apologize to Sister-in later. I didn't mean to take her house. Just thought since you two are getting married soon, it would be inconvenient for her and you to live together while I have a child." She choked up a bit, her eyes slowly reddening. Hearing his mother's crying, 1-year-old Zhao Zishuan toddled over, grabbing his mother's skirt with one hand and holding on to Jiang Muchuan with the other. He stumbled and said, "Mommy, don't cry, Daddy, kiss Mommy." Zhao Xylan blushed deeply, hurriedly picking up the child. "Sorry, he just learned to talk and can't quite distinguish yet." Jiang Muchuan didn't mind much. Instead, he bent down and lovingly looked at Zhao Ziyan. He and his mother looked very alike. Both had fair skin and were equally bright. In Jiang Muchuan's youthful dreams, he and Sister Xylan also had such a happy family, although it was no longer possible between them. But that didn't stop Jiang Muchuan from liking the child. He instinctively followed Sister Xylan's cue in his thoughts. Feng Yan was somewhat dissatisfied. Such a lovely child, why couldn't she just make things easier? Thinking of how she lost her temper and recklessly spoke of breaking off the engagement, Jiang Muchuan's face gradually darkened. How could she be so thoughtless? In the end, he decided to impose a minor punishment as a stern warning. He wouldn't let Feng Yan attend the family banquet, teaching her a lesson that was neither too harsh nor too lenient, to make her understand that when living together as a couple in the future, one cannot always quarrel with their partner over every little thing. When I walked out of the dormitory building, it was already dark. I didn't stop walking, and managed to submit my application for unpaid leave before the factory closed. Since I arrived late, only Sister Lu was left in the office. She had watched me grow up from a young age and was surprised. "Anan, aren't you about to marry Jiang soon? Why are you applying for unpaid leave at this time?" I didn't want Jiang Muchuan to know about my decision to leave, so, taking advantage of the convenience of just having walked in the cold wind, I sniffed, pulling out a forced smile. "Aunt Lu, you must have heard about what happened in the property department this afternoon. I want to leave and head south to seek refuge with distant relatives. Can you keep this a secret for me?" Gossip spread quickly among the older people at the factory like Aunt Lu. She slapped her forehead, suddenly realizing. Her face also showed a bit of indignation on my behalf. "Alright, I promise you, I won't tell anyone about this. I used to think Jiang was a college student who wouldn't do such shameless things. Now it seems that all men are the same. If it weren't for your parents, he might not have even gotten into that college. Pa, such an ungrateful wretch." Aunt Lou became more agitated as she spoke. At the height of her emotions, she rolled up her sleeves, wishing she could drag me there and then to trample that scumbag. I couldn't help but smile warmly inside. "Thank you, Aunt Lou. Once I get settled in the South, I'll definitely send local specialties back to you." She puffed up her chest. "Oh, don't be so formal with me. I've always disliked dragging things out." Aunt Lou said that the procedure for unpaid leave would take 7 days. The next morning, I took a bag of fruit and went straight to Zhang's parents' house, holding the steaming mug of brown sugar water that Zhang's mother handed me. I said, "Uncle, Auntie, I want to call off the engagement." In the misty steam, Zhang's father reacted most strongly, grabbing a wooden stick and intending to drag the unfilial son back from the factory for a beating. "Enan, don't worry, as long as your Aunt Song and I are still around, we won't let him bully you." I knew they genuinely cared for me. Jiang Muchuan had been beaten the night before, Uncle Jiang had been harsh, and it was said that today he was limping to work, but I still shook my head. "Uncle, if I marry Jiang Muchuan, we are supposed to spend a lifetime together. There will come a day when you are no longer here. What should I do then? He doesn't like me, and now, I don't want to be with him either." Actually, Zhang's parents were well aware that Jiang Muchuan and I were mismatched. He was a rare university graduate among the workers' children, and as the youngest cadre assigned to the factory, his future was promising, whereas I, just a humble textile worker, hadn't even finished high school. How could two people with such different lives and experiences be happy together? Zhang's parents remained silent, offering no answer. I sighed and played my trump card. "Uncle, Auntie, I think the spirits of my parents in heaven wouldn't want me to waste my life like this." The matter of my parents was a thorn in all our sides. With a thud, Zhang's father dropped the stick and slumped down, his back visibly bending. Zhang's mother also turned her head away, silently wiping tears. "Sorry, it was our family's fault." I returned the jade bracelet to Zhang's mother and finally obtained the document that annulled the engagement, leaving with that light piece of paper. I paused at the door, hesitated, and then turned back, intending to say something. Zhang's mother, who was seeing me off, suddenly brightened up, looking at me with hope, hoping I would change my mind, but I only glanced at her and said, "Auntie, please don't tell Jiang Muchuan about the engagement just yet. I don't want him to trouble me again." "All right." After saying that, I stepped over the threshold with a sense of relief. From then on, Jiang Muchuan and I had nothing to do with each other. This time, I refused to end up like in my dreams. I'm heading south to change my fate, to catch the east wind and rise swiftly to great heights. Meanwhile, Jiang Muchuan was distractedly responding to the compliments from his relatives. His gaze kept involuntarily drifting towards the door. The family banquet had started almost half an hour ago. Why hasn't Feng Nianan arrived yet? He had clearly given her the address of the restaurant earlier. Even if he had told her not to come, her legs were her own. If she really wanted to come, would he actually stop her from entering? The banquet hall was bustling with toasts and conversations, yet, he felt inexplicably irritable and slightly unbuttoned his cuff. What was even stranger was, Zhang's father and mother, who adored Feng Nianan, hadn't mentioned her even once tonight. They didn't even bring up the theme of tonight's banquet, which was supposed to be about their engagement. They only mentioned celebrating his return to his hometown with a job after graduating from university, inviting everyone to gather. It was too odd. Shouldn't they be furious, forcing him to apologize to Feng Nianan? Unable to hold back, Jiang Muchuan pulled his mother aside and whispered, "Why hasn't Nianan arrived yet? Should I go pick her up?" His mother's eyes held the familiar look of reproach and disappointment. Unexpectedly, Zhang's mother said nothing. She just glanced at him indifferently and returned to her seat at the banquet. Jiang Muchuan didn't like this feeling of being out of control. He left the restaurant without a word, his long legs bent slightly as he leaned against the wall outside and lit a cigarette. In the swirling smoke, his expression was frosty. He couldn't understand what kind of game his parents and Feng Nianan were playing. Suddenly, a gentle female voice interrupted his thoughts. "Xiao Chuan, what are you doing here?" He looked up. There was Zhao Xilan, holding a child, looking at him with surprise. "I just came back and couldn't find the nearby wholesale market. Can you help me find my way?" Without hesitation, Jiang Muchuan put out his cigarette and walked briskly towards his sister Xilan. "Of course, I can." Aunt Lu patted her chest, assuring me that she would handle the leave of absence process for me. She even thoughtfully arranged a 7-day leave for me to rest properly. With Uncle Zhang's tacit approval, the matter was well concealed. Jiang Muchuan hadn't heard a thing. I slept for a whole day and night at home, and when I opened my eyes, I felt refreshed. Soon, very soon, I would leave this place, to start my new life. I yawned, ready to go back to sleep. Suddenly, something flashed through my mind. Remembering the child in my dream who had never been born, my expression changed dramatically. My gaze slowly dropped to my flat belly. I sprang from the bed, wrapped myself up tightly, and headed to the black market, hoping everything was still in time. After my parents' deaths, I became an orphan, sitting alone in the room. I had so often wished there was someone connected to me by blood, so I wouldn't feel so alone. In my dreams, I feel immense love for this child, but now, I cannot bring him into this world. It wouldn't be right to carelessly bring him into such instability. Life is uncertain, and my father does not look forward to this. I will have children, but definitely not now, and the father of the child cannot be such a scoundrel. I gently stroke my belly and silently apologize in my heart. Next time, could you come to mommy's belly again? The black market was bustling, everyone dressed tightly and inconspicuously, and my attire did not stand out. After much inquiry, I found a vendor in the most secluded corner. He was a man wearing a hood and a mask. Anxious, I approached him without hesitation and asked, "Do you have that kind of medicine?" The man looked up, revealing slightly upturned dark eyes. What medicine? His eyes were actually quite striking. A strange thought flashed through my mind. Ignoring my embarrassment, I got straight to the point in a low voice. "Abortion pills." He glanced at me a few times, then lowered his head, searching for something. "When was the last time you were intimate?" Why is he asking this? I was taken aback and hesitated. 3 days ago. He seemed to chuckle bitterly, stopped what he was doing, and there was a hint of helplessness in his voice. "Young lady, what you really need now isn't an abortion, but contraception. Take this. It's levonorgestrel from overseas, effective for 72 hours. Just take it orally when you get back. There might be some side effects like nausea and vomiting, but that's normal, don't worry." If I had been able to complete my first year of high school, I would have taken a course called health education. Then I would have realized what a foolish mistake I made today. Unfortunately, I hadn't, and I could only silently take the packet of pills. Hearing the price the man quoted made me gasp in shock. It was almost 2 months of my salary. Seeing my confused face, he sighed again. "Stretch out your hand, let me have a look." I looked at him warily. "What for?" "To take your pulse." I still didn't trust him, worried that he might be a charlatan preying on the gullible, but this was the black market. I dared not make a scene. After thinking it over, I hesitantly stretched out my hand. He placed 2 fingers on my wrist. After a moment, he withdrew his hand, and his deep voice came through the black fabric mask. "You should be fine, no need to take the medicine." Really, just as I was about to argue, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Jiang Muchuan was leading Zhao Xilan, shopping at a stall. The crowd was bustling, and he held Zhao Xilan tightly by the waist, protecting her in his arms. Even though there was a distance between us, yet, he seemed to sense something, turned his head, and looked in my direction. The moment our eyes met, my heart skipped a beat, and I instinctively looked for a place to hide. If Jiang Muchuan found out I was getting contraception, who knows what trouble it could lead to. The stall owner noticed my discomfort and followed my gaze, then opened his arms to me. "Come here, hide." His face was generous, with a look that said, "If you hug me, you're making a big profit." I glared at him and moved behind him, using him as a shield. Unexpectedly, he turned around, dissatisfied. "Hey, you." I sharply stepped on the man's foot. "Shut up." He grimaced and inhaled sharply, his voice obediently quieted down, muttering discontentedly under his breath. What kind of person? Jiang Muchuan thought he must be seeing things. Otherwise, why would he see someone who looked a lot like Feng Yan'an in the black market? Even wearing the same black cotton-padded jacket that Feng Yan'an often wore, but he quickly diverted his attention, focusing on helping Zhao Xilan pick items, laughing at himself, thinking he must be going mad. Feng Yan'an, that honest and upright woman, wouldn't dare to venture into the black market, nor would she be pulling and tugging with a man. Her secret crush on him for many years was no secret. I kept half a meter's distance from the man. From behind, his head was just at my neck. Resembling the closeness of intimate lovers, Jiang Muchuan glanced a few times and then looked away, considerately carrying the things Zhao Xilan had bought. They left. I breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you." The man waved his hand, about to take back the medicine, but I quickly snatched it. Before leaving, I looked at his washed-out sleeve cuffs and silently gave him an extra 5 yuan. Not much, just a token of appreciation. In the end, I went ahead and bought that contraceptive pill. Hiding beneath him, through a gap in the collar of his coat, I saw a familiar white lab coat and a metal name tag that read ordinary physician at Sicheng Second Hospital, Song Yiming. I took the pill as soon as I got home. Lying in bed as the doctor advised, cautious of any potential side effects. However, the anticipated discomfort never came. Instead, I felt unusually drowsy and fell into a deep sleep, dreaming. In the dream, a delicate little girl ran towards me, laughing, and hugged my legs tightly. Mommy, Mommy, my name is Eneen, remember me, I'll come to find you again. When I awoke, my face was wet with tears. Eneen, wait for me, with 3 days left until the paperwork was completed. I bought a train ticket to head south to Yueching during this time and stayed home to pack my things. Having done all this, I gazed at the small courtyard where I had lived for over 20 years, feeling somewhat melancholic. Every plant, every brick, and every tile here held memories of my parents and me. My father used to push me on a swing by the loofah trellis in the corner of the yard. My mother would bring out a plate of watermelon on summer nights and count the stars with me in her arms. I gently touched the yellowing wooden door. If possible, I truly didn't want to leave, but I knew it wasn't practical. In a few years, policies allowing workers to buy their homes would be implemented. I told myself that this brief separation was to ensure a better reunion. I needed to work hard to earn money, so one day I could buy this courtyard and make it wholly my own. The next day, I went to the factory to ask Uncle Jiang for a letter of introduction. In just a few days, he seemed to have aged considerably, his temples noticeably grayer. I couldn't bear it. Uncle, you must also take care of yourself. I knew that besides being worried about me, he was even more concerned about Jiang Muchuan. These days, he was almost constantly with Zhao Xilan, busily helping her with arrangements, even trying to use his influence to secure her a clerical job at the cotton mill. Of course, Uncle Jiang put a stop to that, but rumors had already spread throughout the factory. Even in these past few days at the courtyard, I could hear the neighbors whispering, the vice director's family is really pitiful. Oh, their son, so obsessed with a divorcee, trying to use connections to get her a desk job in the factory, without inheriting any of the good qualities of his upright father. Indeed, Uncle Jiang had led a life of integrity. The most unorthodox thing he ever did was try to get me an office job, which I refused. I didn't want to exchange my parents' death for that, and I didn't want to put Uncle Jiang in a difficult position. Now, on the brink of retirement, his own son had tarnished his reputation. I advised him, Uncle, children have their own fortunes. Jiang Muchuan and I are grown up. We'll face the consequences of our choices, which have nothing to do with you or Aunt Song. He sighed and nodded, then couldn't help but ask, Anan, are you really not considering staying? Even if we're not one family, staying in Sicheng, your Aunt Song and I could at least look after you. How can we be at ease with you leaving alone? I gently shook my head, smiling. I really can't, Uncle. I've grown up and want to venture out and see the world. Didn't a great man once say that women can hold up half the sky? In the vast world, I believed that I had great potential. Uncle Jiang couldn't resist my persistence and wrote me a letter of introduction. Along with the letter, he also gave me a landline number. Anan, this number belongs to the director of U City Textile Factory No. 2. I'm quite acquainted with him. If you ever find it difficult over there, feel free to reach out to him. I was momentarily stunned, my eyes welled up with tears, and I sincerely thanked him. Uncle Jiang, thank you. Then, without hesitation, I turned and left. I was planning to go to the second floor and inquire about Aunt Lu about the progress of my unpaid leave. Unexpectedly, just as I reached the staircase, I ran straight into Jiang Muchuan waiting there. He stared at me. Anan, can we talk? I felt it was an ominous suggestion. At this point, I didn't think there was anything left to say between us. I stepped back silently, refusing him without a word. His expression darkened. Just like a few days ago, he cornered me against the wall once more. He glanced towards Uncle Jiang's office upstairs and hissed through clenched teeth, Feng Yanan. Did you go complaining to my dad again? If you have something to say, why hide from me? Why are you still upset after all these days? It's been almost a week. You should calm down by now. He moved closer, the stench of alcohol and smoke repulsive. I frowned, struggling continuously, and said calmly, let me go, ignoring everything. After seeing the redness at the corner of my eyes, he suddenly reached out and touched it. His tone was puzzled. You cried. Jiang Muchuan's grip loosened a bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. Why can't you be more understanding? Always jealous of Sister Xilan. I'm already your fiancé. Ah, I suddenly need him hard. Jiang Muchuan doubled over in pain, curling up on the ground, and then, he reached out to me in vain. Expressionless, I stepped over him and left, ignoring the unpleasant episode. Aunt Lu gave me some good news. Your paperwork came through early. The documents will arrive tomorrow." Overjoyed, I gave her a big hug. "Thank you, Aunt Lu." If it hadn't been for her diligent assistance these past few days, the process wouldn't have been expedited. Tears welled up in her eyes as she patted my shoulder. "And then, take care of yourself from now on. Our cotton mill will always be your home." I returned home with a grateful and joyful heart, thinking of Jiang Muchuan's odd behavior today. I quickly packed my things and went to the guest house. I also changed my train ticket to tomorrow, as soon as the unpaid leave was processed. I planned to leave, to avoid further complications. Unfortunately, the next day, I was cornered again by Jiang Muchuan at the factory. He was somewhat abject, clutching at me. "Anan, where did you go? I went to your house last night, and you weren't there. Did someone deceive you? Tell me, please." The person who treated me like trash and deceived me was him, and now, he was the one worried that others might deceive me. Honestly, I didn't quite understand Jiang Muchuan's thinking. Fortunately, I didn't need to understand it. "Xiaochuan, Zixuan is sick. Can you help me take him to the clinic?" Zhao Xilan's voice, tinged with tears, echoed in the empty hallway. Jiang Muchuan's hand on me stiffened, and then without hesitation, he pulled away. "Anan, wait for me. I'll come find you tonight." Once again, Jiang Muchuan chose Zhao Xilan over me, but I wasn't upset at all. Instead, I sighed in relief. Facing Zhao Xilan's complex gaze, I even managed a sincere smile. Wusong said, "Hurry. Take him away." Yes, I knew Jiang Muchuan wouldn't let things go easily, so I made a special trip to see Zhao Xilan last night. I told her about my plans to visit the factory today and my intention to leave. Sister Xilan has always been smart. See, here she is now, with just a simple suitcase. I bid farewell to my hometown of over 20 years and boarded the train to Yuiqing alone. The scenery outside the window flashed by rapidly, the barren trees transformed into lush greenery. Stepping out of the carriage, I was greeted by a warm gust of air. Here, I would start a brand new life. Life away from home was not easy. Yuiqing's open policies allowed individuals to rent houses, to save money. I rented a small room in a tube building. During the damp season, clothes hung in the corridor would sometimes take half a month to dry, not to mention the rats as big as my face during the scorching summer, and the flying cockroaches with twin ponytails. Often, I would wake from nightmares to find myself staring into the eyes of a huge rat, followed by a series of chaotic screams. Armed with a purple plastic slipper, I would drive the intruders out of my territory. Life had its hardships, but it also had its sweet moments. It's no exaggeration to say that the clothing styles and patterns from Hong Kong and Macau here were way ahead of those in Suching. Even I, a textile worker, was dazzled by the variety. And then there were the ubiquitous talent markets, private business owners, independently hired workers. Everything was brimming with vitality. It was as if the city was embracing and welcoming every hardworking individual. I quickly found a job in a garment factory that matched my skills. The boss lady visited Hong Kong every fortnight, bringing back the latest popular designs. We, the workers, would then copy the patterns, select the materials, make the clothes, and sell them, adorned with a full set of gold jewelry and delicate curly hair. The boss lady worked tirelessly with us day and night at the sewing machines. She said, "Ladies, policies can change at any time, and we don't know how long we'll be able to keep this job. Let's make money while we can." Okay. Everyone called her Sister Zhen. It was said she too had come from a humble background in a small fishing village. She was an orphan, her parents having died early, until something called a special zone suddenly appeared and took over her family's land. That was when the wheels of fate began to turn. Sister Zhen was generous with our wages and even shared a small portion of the profits with us. She said, "If you ladies are working hard for me, naturally, I can't let you down, can I?" The first month I received my salary, it was nearly 10 times what I earned at the cotton factory. My heart was pounding with excitement. Who would argue with money? In response to Sister Zhen, the sewing machines buzzed and clicked incessantly. After 6 months of work, I had saved an amount I wouldn't even dare dream of back in Suching. Can you believe I was already halfway to becoming a 10,000-aire? But that still wasn't enough. Thinking of Jiang Muchuan's $100,000 stunt in my dreams, I felt a strange sense of competition ignite within me. If he could do it, why couldn't I? Remember, before dropping out of school, Jiang Muchuan was always second best, while I consistently topped the rankings. In terms of intelligence and capability, I, Feng Nianan, am second to none. Recently, Sister Zhen has been a bit troubled. She's been trying to transition. We've been making clothes for the regular market, while importing higher-end clothes from Hong Kong for a more affluent clientele. she had everything arranged with a partner in Hong Kong, but suddenly, they switched to a Chinese American who had studied in the U.S. She kept muttering some ABC gibberish back and forth, and Sister Jean couldn't understand a thing. She playfully complained to us, "What should I do, ladies? Should I hire a translator? That's going to be expensive." Thank goodness for Uncle Jiang. After Jiang Mutuan's college entrance exams during the summer, he heard that fluent English would be advantageous in university. He specially hired an English teacher from Sudai University to tutor Jiang Mutuan at home, and I was also included, supposedly to supervise Jiang Mutuan. After several months of attending these sessions alongside my job, well, let's just say, basic verbal communication is no problem for me. I boldly recommended myself to Sister Jean. Her eyes lit up, and decisively, she took me with her to the port city. The cityscape was packed with towering skyscrapers and bustling central streets. Everything was so overwhelming. I felt like Granny Lou entering the Grand View Garden for the first time. Before entering the meeting room, I was so nervous that my palms were sweating. I held a book of clothing terminology that I had specifically bought from a bookstore, reciting it over and over, but Sister Jean, casually leaning against the wall with a slim cigarette, reassured me, "Relax, Annie, if it comes to it, we can just hire a translator. We're just giving this a try. Don't feel too pressured." Annie is the English name I chose for myself. I also picked out the name Jennifer for Sister Jean. It's simple and memorable, and she likes it a lot. I nodded, but then I noticed Jennifer's other hand, hidden behind her, was also trembling slightly. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, embarrassed. Sister Jean playfully scolded me. "After all, I've invested half of my fortune in this. Isn't it normal to be nervous?" "Absolutely, you're right, Sister Jean." The little incident outside the meeting room eased my nerves. The anticipated flood of arcane jargon never came. Our counterpart was an elegant woman named Sophia, with curly hair and dressed in a red gown. I was so struck by her beauty that I nearly tripped as I entered the door, staring at her in awe. It was only when she tapped lightly on the glass table that I snapped back to reality and got down to business. Instead of using complex jargon, she focused on asking about the sales of their clothing in U-City, the patterns and materials that were popular with mainland customers, and the usual pricing and logistics. Sister Jean answered, and I translated. Despite some stumbles, we eventually closed the deal. It turns out, a small textile worker like me, with a fine craft and some additional skills, can sit at a negotiation table with highly capable people, just like the newspapers say, and hold her own confidently. Before we left, Sophia gifted us a model of the port city's iconic tram, which made a ringing sound when moved. In return, Sister Jean and I gave her Suzhou's famous embroidered silk and the popular snow cream from the mainland. The business went unexpectedly smoothly, with a grand gesture. Sister Jean whisked me onto an expensive return flight. On the way there, we had taken a boat, which cost 93 yuan per ticket, a price I already thought was astronomical. I had been seasick during the journey, and Sister Jean teased me for being a landlubber. Unexpectedly, our return trip was on a plane ticket costing 270 yuan each, from the airplane window, looking down at the world below. All troubles seemed trivial and easily manageable. I absolutely loved this feeling of freedom. On New Year's Eve, amid the intermittent sounds of firecrackers, we watched the first ever Spring Festival gala on a black and white TV that Sister Jean had splurged on. We enjoyed a Huangmei opera sketch titled Eating Chicken and the ethereal singing of artistly. Sister Jean, unable to get through on the phone to request a song, was sulky for a while, but then, captivated by the soul-stirring song Nostalgia, she squeezed past us to sit in front of the TV, completely engrossed. Having been away for a year, I started to miss home. I couldn't help running out to make a call to Suzhou, even just to check on everyone's well-being. I called the local store at the end of the alley and asked the owner to summon Auntie Song. "Annie, is that you? How are you doing over there?" Hearing that I was doing well, Auntie Song's voice choked up, and she couldn't help but complain, "You child, why didn't you call to let us know you were settled? Your Uncle Jiang and I have been worried for a long time." Through the winding phone line, I could almost see Auntie Song's eyes brimming with tears. In the end, I promised to call home every month. After calming her down by providing my current address, life swiftly returned to its hectic pace after the Spring Festival. Gradually, I helped Sister Jean secure a few more business deals. Impressed by my ability to learn, she sent me to night school for adults. During a celebration, she got me drunk with beer and learned about my past in Sioux City. Not sure what she thought of me, perhaps some pitiful soul. She even offered to cover the cost of my night school. Despite my repeated refusals, I couldn't persuade her otherwise. In the end, she paid half. and I paid the other half. She playfully tapped my nose, saying, "What do you know? I call this an investment. If you bail on me after finishing night school, you'll see what I'll do to you." I just laughed foolishly, hugging her arm like an idiot. The garment export business was booming. We were importing not just from Hong City, but Sophia also took a liking to our exquisite silk and embroidery, as well as the affordable labor. With great foresight, she placed a bulk order for mainland clothing at an irresistible price. Sister Jeanne and I worried, will there really be a market? Sophia gently touched the soft silk, reassuring us, don't worry, ordinary clothes go to Southeast Asia, silk goes to the luxury market. With your beautiful, affordable, high-quality products, I stand to make a profit. Gradually, Sister Jeanne began to delegate her responsibilities to the capable staff who had been with her from the start. Naturally, I took charge of the foreign trade aspect, mainly liaising with Sophia and exploring new markets. We, the small business owners, were extremely busy. Sister Jeanne, forgetting old friends for new, fell for a guy named Chang, a secondary dealer. Wow, with his 8-pack abs, wheat-colored skin, and rugged looks, Sister Jeanne, the little rich woman, was visibly excited. In less than 3 months, she had him wrapped around her finger, completely tamed. She occasionally called him to the factory to help us with lifting, drawing envious glares, flipping her hair. She'd casually say, "Raise." And no one would spare Chun another glance, almost wishing to kneel under her red dress and cling to her legs, crying for her affection amid cheers. Sister Jeanne nudged my shoulder. "Pretty girl, don't you want to find someone too? I have plenty of good prospects, teachers, doctors, all suited for a good girl like you. We've got the money and the looks. Now's the best time to find love." I couldn't help but twitch my mouth. Astonished, she'd turned matchmaker, pushing her away gently. I rolled my eyes. "Sister Jeanne, when do I have the time? It's true we have money and looks, but I'm not free. I can't afford to waste time on anything else." Sister Jeanne chuckled and handed me a restaurant address. "I don't care. I'm giving you Friday night off. With pay, go if you want, or don't. There are plenty of men. I can find someone even better for you." Yeah, she sounded even more like a matchmaker. I took the note, of course. I didn't go. Lately, I'd been receiving letters from Sioux City. Uncle Jiang and Auntie Song sent me money every month, which I saved without touching. Jiang Muchuan also wrote to me, but I didn't read his letters, burning them instead. However, one day, I received a letter from Zhao Xilan. In it, she wrote that she had aborted Jiang Muchuan's child because he refused to marry her. She somehow thought I was to blame and wanted me to talk to him. Skeptical, but recalling Auntie Song's choked voice and Uncle Jiang's graying temples, I couldn't help but write a brief letter to Jiang Muchuan. I said, "Uncle and Auntie are getting old. Jiang Muchuan, you're their only support. It's time to grow up." In the following 2 months, I didn't receive a single letter. I realized love is a terrifying thing. I lost myself to it before. And now there's the messy entanglement between Jiang Muchuan and Zhao Xilan. I need to keep my distance from love. Using paid leave to meet potential partners seems like a waste, doesn't it? I slept until noon for the first time in ages, then got myself together and hit the streets. Delicious food, beautiful people, scenic views. I lingered endlessly on the bustling commercial streets downtown. Accidentally, I spent nearly half a month's salary. At the same time, I felt my murky spirit become clear. Joy radiated through my entire being, carrying bags big and small. I was just turning into an alley when I saw a pregnant woman leaning against a wall, crying out, "Help me, my water broke." I felt dizzy, ran out of the alley, and called for help. Someone immediately dialed the nearest hospital. A kind-hearted cyclist quickly borrowed a flatbed cart and panting, rushed the pregnant woman to the hospital. We were breathless and collapsed in the hospital corridor. I lost one of my shoes, and my meticulous makeup was smeared all over. The cyclist, too, was a mess, stained all over his face and body. The pregnant woman's family rushed over and couldn't stop thanking us. We exchanged smiles, waved, and left. Exiting the hospital, I was so overwhelmed with joy that I sprained my ankle. The cyclist, pushing the borrowed cart, stopped in front of me. He made a familiar eyebrow-raising gesture. "Come on, I have to return this anyway. I'll see my good deed through and help you out." After returning the cart, the cyclist also took me and my bags on his bike to my apartment building. To my surprise, Sister Jeanne and Brother Chang were waiting there, seeing my sorry state. Sister Jeanne rushed up to me. "Good heavens, Anan, how did you end up like this?" She glared menacingly at the cyclist. "Song Yiming, is this how you date?" Swelling up a pretty woman's foot, that name sounded so familiar. Such a melodramatic turn of events. The cyclist and I stared at each other. eyes wide. The next weekend, I took my paid leave, and awkwardly dined with Song Yiming at a restaurant. How awkward. The doctor who I thought had given me abortion pills turned out to be my blind date. What was I supposed to do? Song Yiming coughed lightly, his eyes darting around. It wasn't abortion pills, it was birth control. Turns out I had accidentally voiced my thoughts, and clearly, Song Yiming remembered me too. Even more awkward. I'd rather go back to unpaid overtime than endure this torment. We finished the meal quickly. Song Yiming waved goodbye. See you, I thought to myself, hopefully never again. But before I could even complete the thought, Jiang Muchuan appeared out of nowhere. He still liked grabbing my wrist, and then, I finally found you. Thinking he was a thug, I instinctively slapped him. Only then did I recognize Jiang Muchuan's face. He had gotten a lot uglier in the 2 years we hadn't seen each other. His beard unkempt, his eyes bloodshot, his once handsome face now covered with a layer of grime. That's why I didn't recognize him at first glance. Jiang Muchuan said he wanted to rekindle our past, realizing only later that he truly loved me, not Xylan. He was simply a youthful infatuation. I had no idea what kind of nonsense he was spouting. It infuriated me, yet amidst the crowd, I didn't want to make a scene by arguing with him, so I blurted out, "You're too late, I'm already in love." Jiang Muchuan's eyes were bloodshot as he protested, "I don't believe it, and then, I know I was wrong. Please come back to Suzhou with me." While we were caught up in the dispute, a hand suddenly reached out. It grabbed Jiang Muchuan's wrist and deftly twisted it back. There was a snap. Jiang Muchuan covered his hand and wailed in pain. Song Yiming looked on coldly and said, "Can't you see she doesn't want to bother with you? Also, I'm her boyfriend. So if you have anything to say, talk to me." Jiang Muchuan looked utterly shattered, and then, "Is it true what he said?" I nodded, "Yes, so please stop disturbing my life. Uncle Jiang is about to retire too. He can't handle this stress. If you still consider them your parents, you should go home early." A few days ago, Aunt Song suddenly called me to say that Jiang Muchuan had a falling out with them and ran away from home. I didn't take it to heart, only to find out he had come looking for me. It was absurd. Jiang Muchuan was persistent and followed me and Song Yiming around for many days. Song Yiming and I had no choice but to pretend to be a couple and started going out together. During this time, we inevitably talked. Gradually, we got to know each other better. I learned that he had turned to the black market to raise money for his critically ill mother. In the end, he couldn't save her and didn't want to stay in that sorrowful place, so he moved down to the city of Guangdong. Our life stories strangely resonated. I began to empathize more with him, and seeing him no longer felt awkward. Instead, we became good friends. I discovered that we both cherished freedom and dared to dream and act boldly. Finally, one evening, Song Yiming and I sat by the shimmering riverside, under the afterglow of the sunset. We couldn't help but exchange a tender kiss. From the corner of my eye, I saw Jiang Muchuan stumbling away, but someone discontentedly jerked his head back, and in focus. Jealousy and pettiness flickered in his eyes. It was the first time I'd seen him like this, and I burst into laughter. Song Yiming's face turned red with my laughter, his hands gripping mine tightly. Through gritted teeth, he warned, "Feng Yanan, I don't care about your past, but if you ever dare to lead me on and then leave me, I will. What will you do?" I raised an eyebrow, intrigued, looking at him. "We haven't even defined our relationship, and you're already this jealous. How will you manage later?" I stood up lightly and began pacing along the shore, hands behind my back. Song Yiming caught up, grabbed my waist, and lifted me, spinning around. "I don't care. I belong to you now. You can't be heartless." Our laughter echoed, startling flocks of birds into flight. I kissed Song Yiming on the cheek. I couldn't help but reflect. Some people, being friends and being lovers, it's really not the same. A good lover resonates with you, chasing the light together. A bad lover, however, drags you into the abyss, losing yourself. I am grateful to have escaped the abyss and am now embracing the sun. From Jiang Muchuan's perspective, that day under the sunset, when Jiang Muchuan saw the sweet smile on Feng Yanan's lips, it was like a wake-up call. He had been lying to himself, thinking that the man was just a cover Feng Yanan used, and then was just angry with him, so she did this. He pondered a lot later and realized indeed he had gone too far. Enan was supposed to be his fiancée, yet, for someone else, he had repeatedly made her sad, but now, he could no longer deceive himself. No one knew better than him the look in Feng Yanan's eyes when she was in love, like a deep, still lake, silently encompassing everything. No, it was still different. At least he had never made her laugh so openly. Jiang Muchuan returned to Suzhou and married Zhao Xylan. Every month, he would take a train to Yueqing. He would spend the entire day at the tea house next to Feng Yanan's clothing store. Zhao Xilan had argued with him more than once, but he tilted his head and said, "Sister Xilan, haven't you already settled down in the city and started a family? How can you still expect me to provide love for Anan?" His relationship with Zhao Xilan had a negative impact, ultimately affecting his career prospects. Over the years, his university peers had been promoted and received pay raises. Yet he remained in the same position as he was years ago, unmoved. He harbored some resentment towards Zhao Xilan. For him, only seeing Feng Yanan could bring a moment of peace to his soul, but when he visited the tea house again, he did not see that familiar figure. Upon inquiring, he learned the news. Feng Yanan had moved back to Susi with her husband and child to buy a house. He rushed back to Susi, eager to offer his help with the paperwork and procedures. But when he arrived at the Feng family's courtyard, dusty and weary, he saw the person he had longed for, nestled in Song Yiming's arms, sharing childhood memories. In their arms was a delicate little girl, their 2-year-old daughter, Song Yining.